Chapter 1365. The United States had given Eve the Zeus suit in order to destroy Dragon God Number 1. A bolt of lightning fell from the sky, but Li Fan suddenly had an idea. He shot out his treasured sword and used it as a lightning rod, diverting it to the side. The crisis of Dragon God Number 1 being destroyed was temporarily averted. However, Li Fan couldn't give Eve any space to continue attacking. The lightning was extremely fast, and it was already very difficult for him to block it once. Who could guarantee that he could block it a second time? I heard that in your Huaxia legends, there are immortals who can control immortal lightning and unleash the 5-blow thunderstruck technique. Eve chuckled and asked Li Fan, "Look at me. Don't I look like one of those immortals from your legends? Look like your sister." Li Fan harumphed coldly as he pointed at Eve again. The spring wave sword immediately turned into a beautiful streak of light and instantly appeared in front of Eve. "Don't look down on me." Eve's spiritual power spread out, and a ripple that could be seen with the naked eye exploded from her forehead, turning into a circle that spread out in all directions. Meanwhile, the spring wave sword that Li Fan was controlling stopped in front of Eve's forehead, buzzing and trembling, as if it had been blocked by an invisible wall. This Eve was most likely a natural psychic ability user, and with the help of the genetic chip and the Zeus suit, she was actually able to use her spiritual power to lock down Li Fan's treasured sword. She's indeed quite powerful. Li Fan's eyes lit up, and he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. With such powerful spiritual power, she would be a very powerful opponent. There was always someone better out there, and this Eve couldn't be underestimated either. "Since you're not willing to admit defeat, I'll use my lightning to send you to hell." As Eve spoke, she suddenly glared at Li Fan. The powerful spiritual power was like a shackle, locking down Li Fan's body. Even someone as powerful as Li Fan was locked down by this powerful spiritual power and was unable to escape. Meanwhile, a bolt of lightning had already struck down from the sky, heading straight for Li Fan's head. Although Li Fan could not move, he could still circulate his power freely. Doppelganger, White Emperor supporting the heavens, 100% power. A figure flew out from Li Fan's body. This external incarnation raised its palms and displayed the palm of the 5 emperors. The incarnation's palms faced the sky and heavily collided with the descending lightning. Bang! This lightning bolt could even penetrate a tank. If Li Fan were to use his body to block it, he would definitely die. However, he was very smart and used his avatar to block this attack. Thunder and lightning were formed from energy, and his avatar was also formed from energy. As the two types of energy collided, Li Fan's avatar was reduced to ashes. However, the lightning was also blocked, protecting Li Fan. What? Eve was clearly astonished. How was this possible? Her attack had been blocked. She knew better than anyone how powerful the lightning was. This Li Fan really did have some tricks up his sleeves. This was too strange. What was that identical doppelganger? Was it a doppelganger warrior created by genes? She remembered that there was a person in the twilight of the gods who also had this ability. However, the doppelganger he created was not even a tenth of the original strength. It could only serve as a distraction and was useless in a real fight. It seemed that this Li Fan's doppelganger was probably also used to block attacks. Now that he had lost his doppelganger, Li Fan no longer had anything to rely on to protect his life. He was no longer a match for her. "Li Fan, you have a death wish. It's not up to me to decide," Eve said as she prepared to summon another bolt of lightning to strike Li Fan to death. He had been hit by her psychic shackles. With the enhancement of the Zeus equipment set, she should be able to trap him for 2 minutes. These 2 minutes were enough. She would summon a few more lightning bolts and completely defeat this arrogant Huaxia youth. As long as she defeated him, no one here would be able to stop her. When that time came, destroying the Dragon God Number 1 would be as easy as turning over her hand. Perhaps she would even have a chance to capture this brat and bring him back to complete her mission. Eve couldn't help but feel envious at the thought of Li Fan's value. "Come forth, Zeus' wrath." Eve was prepared to summon an even more terrifying bolt of lightning to completely destroy Li Fan. However, right at this moment, Li Fan's doppelganger suddenly appeared in front of Eve. However, Eve didn't care about this guy at all. Why would Eve care about a minion with no combat ability? Right at this moment, the doppelganger suddenly raised a palm and slapped it toward her. Doppelganger, Yellow Emperor rides the dragon, 100% power. This was the starting move of the 5 Emperor's divine palms and the fastest technique, Yellow Emperor rides the dragon. The palm tore through the air and instantly appeared in front of Eve. Stop it, Eve finally sensed that something was wrong. She hurriedly raised her spear and formed a blue lightning shield in front of her in an attempt to block the doppelganger's palm. It was just a doppelganger, so how much power could it possibly have? It would most likely be shattered by the power of the shield. Crack! However, the doppelganger was unscathed. Instead, a palm print half a foot deep appeared on Eve's shield. Immediately afterward, the shield shattered like glass, and the doppelganger's palm landed on Eve's body. Eve's body immediately slid back over 10 meters. If it weren't for the fact that she was wearing battle armor, she would have most likely been slapped to death by this palm. Even so, white smoke was still rising from Eve's shoulder. It was clear that this palm strike had not been light on her. How could this be? Eve was a little astonished. This was just a doppelganger, but it still possessed such power. Little did she know that even a doppelganger of Li Fan's possessed the power of a half-sage. Although it couldn't defeat a sage, if a doppelganger of a half-sage were to suddenly launch a sneak attack while he was battling a sage, the effect would be indescribable. In a regular battle, Li Fan would not use his doppelganger. However, in a battle of life and death, he would not hesitate. Bastard! Before Eve had a chance to attack, Li Fan had already withdrawn his doppelgangers and was making his way toward her. Your name is Eve, right? I'm sorry, but you're not welcome here. Leave your life here. Saying this, Li Fan placed his palm on Eve's chest. Mystical Dragon Ice Palm, Icebound Kingdom, full power. A giant ice dragon appeared in the air and penetrated Eve's body. After achieving the sacred realm, Li Fan was able to unleash the power of a third-layer martial god. Each of his attacks was able to gather his chi and transform into different forms, thus the effect was a lot better than Murong Ying's materialization. Murong Ying's materialization allowed her inner force to feel extremely real, as if it was an actual object. Meanwhile, Li Fan's third-layer martial god realm was able to produce a stronger force, allowing him to kill his opponent. Thunderous roar. Although Eve let out a roar, she did not have time to react. Her figure and the ground within 10 meters of her were frozen into ice sculptures. Chapter 1366. The warriors of Dusk of the gods who were still fighting were stunned. Was the mighty Eve going to be defeated just like that? What should they do? Although Li Fan's palm didn't freeze 10,000 miles, it did freeze a radius of 10 meters. This was also a powerful skill. How could an ordinary person achieve this? Of course, they didn't know that Li Fan had already shown mercy. Otherwise, with his skill, he wouldn't be able to freeze everything within 10,000 miles, but he could easily freeze everything within a radius of 100 meters. The reason why he didn't use this technique was that he had indeed shown mercy. Secondly, the 7 hero swordsmen were still within 100 meters, and Li Fan was afraid of hurting them. However, he was able to control the ice seal to a range of 10 meters, which was also a powerful strength control technique. With such power, it is indeed the supreme sword of Huaxia. The general couldn't help but exclaim in admiration when he saw this scene through the camera. It was a pity that such powerful combat power didn't belong to the Empire. Otherwise, it would only be a matter of time before the Empire took over the world. Since they couldn't get it, they had to destroy it. They couldn't let it fall into the hands of other countries. Wake up, Eve. Unleash your greatest power and serve the Empire. The general gave the order, and the eyes of the frozen Eve suddenly lit up. Although she had already fainted, the general had used remote control to temporarily take control of her body. At this moment, Eve had truly become a killing machine. Under the general's command, she used her mind power to tear through the ice that sealed her body. Then, she pointed the lightning spear in her hand at Li Fan again. Crack! A bolt of lightning fell from the sky and landed directly on Li Fan. This time, the lightning was faster and more ferocious. However, Li Fan was prepared. The spring wave sword rose into the air and floated above Li Fan's head, attracting the lightning to avoid the disaster. The lightning landed on Li Fan's palm. Black Dragon Ice Palm, dragon engulfs all things, 100% power. Li Fan used his dragon engulfing all things to forcibly absorb this powerful thunderbolt into the palm of his right hand for a while. What? The general was shocked when he saw this scene through the screen. He couldn't believe his eyes. This Huaxia kid actually used his palm to absorb the power of the heavenly thunder. The might of thunder and lightning. This was an extremely powerful energy. According to known technology, humans had not yet invented an object that could withstand the power of thunder and lightning. At most, he would use a lightning rod to attract the lightning and direct it into the ground. Even though Eve could only summon a small portion of the power of the lightning with the help of the Zeus satellite, the tank just now was proof that the power of the heavens could not be violated. This Huaxia man in front of him actually used his bare hands to block Lei Wei's attack. How could this be? Under the general's shocked gaze, Li Fan had already unleashed his second move. Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment, Thunder Lightning Blade, Thunder Might. Thunder Dragon Heavenly Punishment was originally a technique of the Thunder Lightning Blade. Li Fan had divided it into 3 moves, attacking the upper, middle, and lower parts of the body. However, at this moment, with the powerful might of thunder in his hand, Li Fan could not afford to use his moves. He simply waved his hand and slashed out like a saber. Whoosh! The purplish-blue lightning saber pierced through the air and the ground, reaching Eve in the blink of an eye. Block it! The general unleashed Eve's psychic power to create a psychic barrier in front of her. Bam! The lightning saber slammed into the mental barrier and its forward momentum slowed down slightly. The general was overjoyed. As expected, the weapons of his empire were the most powerful. Even the might of thunder could be blocked. With the power of the Zeus suit, Eve was able to block the lightning saber for the time being. However, Li Fan still had a trump card up his sleeve. With a wave of his right hand, vital energy condensed in the air. Another Li Fan immediately materialized in the air and descended from the sky, smashing his palm down on Eve's head. Avatar, Azure the Arch Sea Calming, 100% power. With a resounding boom, Eve's mental barrier was shattered. Even the general could not help but be shocked by this scene. Little did he know that this Azure the Arch Sea Calming technique was the best technique to break through a person's defense. The spiritual power barrier was broken, and the lightning saber continued onward, slicing off one of Eve's arms with brute force before hurtling through the air. The thunder lightning saber then split the tower behind it into 2, cutting it into 2. Holy shit! So powerful, this is Huaxia's Shangfang sword. We can't beat him. What do we do? The warriors of Gods of Dusk saw this. How could they possibly defeat an expert like Li Fan? This person's strength was terrifying. Could they even deal with an expert like this? I vow to complete this mission with my life. The intense pain brought Eve back to her senses. She looked down at her severed arm. She was smart enough to understand what had happened. It seemed that she had lost consciousness because the general was controlling her. However, the result was obvious. She had still been defeated by Li Fan and had lost an arm. If she could survive, she did not care about losing an arm. Their empire had terrifying technology. Even if she lost an arm, she could still reattach it. But if she lost her life here, she would lose everything. Eve wanted to ask for a retreat, but she heard the general's rebuke. I vow to complete this mission with my life. Am I really going to lose my life here? Li Fan was like the guardian of Huaxia. As long as he stood there, no one would be able to touch the enormous dragon god number 1. If that's the case, Eve's eyes shone with an intimidating light. Even Li Fan could not help but feel a little apprehensive. What was this woman trying to do? Zeus' wrath. Blue lightning began to emit from Eve's body. Then, dark clouds began to gather in the sky. These dark clouds were thick and dark, giving Li Fan the feeling that they were about to destroy a city. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Eve, this woman. Could it be, not good? Li Fan furrowed his brows. He had to kill Eve immediately. She was definitely trying to attract the terrifying heavenly lightning here. If the true might of the heavens descended, both Eve and the dragon god number 1 would perish together. Li Fan might have a way to survive, but he would not be able to protect Wang Xiaoran and the others. Dragon subduing sword, azure dragon point of water, 130% power. Li Fan waved his hand. The spring wave sword transformed into a black dragon and instantly pierced through Eve's body. Splat! Azure dragon point of water was the fastest technique in the dragon subduing sword. It was similar to the yellow emperor rides the dragon from the 5 emperors' divine palms. In the blink of an eye, a bloody hole had appeared in Eve's body. The general stood in front of the camera. He did not even get a clear look at the attack before the news of Eve's death appeared on the screen. However, a smile appeared on the general's face. Chapter 1367. It did not matter even if Eve was dead. She was still in control of her own body. The terrifying heavenly lightning was about to descend. Humph. Li Fan could see that even though Eve was dead, she was still summoning the terrifying lightning. Don't underestimate the Huaxia hero. Li Fan snorted. Then, he jumped up and slammed his palm down on Eve, who was summoning the lightning. Black Dragon Ice Palm, overturning the skies and stirring the seas, 130%. Li Fan didn't show any mercy when he attacked this time. He had unleashed the full power of a martial saint. A white ice dragon descended from the sky and slammed into Eve's body. Eve did not even have time to struggle before she was smashed into smithereens by the powerful gust of wind. Such a shocking strength finally made everyone shut their mouths. The screen in front of the general turned black. Then, he could not see anything. His control over Eve had been completely severed. What's going on? The general roared, but it was too late. Quick, re-establish contact with Eve. The general roared again and again, as if he was extremely angry. General, we still have a plan B. An officer beside him reminded him. Yes. We still have a plan B. The general's expression softened at the thought. As long as there was a plan B, Dragon God number 1 could still be destroyed. No one could stop the United States Empire from becoming stronger. That's right, no one could stop it. At this moment, in the base, the people of Gods of Dusk had all surrendered, raising their hands in surrender. Could they not surrender? The terrifying Huaxia demon god, Li Fan, was standing right there. Who dared to disobey him? Husband, they're all under control. There's no room for error. Chun reported to Li Fan. At this time, all the enemies were under control. The guards of the base had also been awakened. They reoccupied the base and were preparing to launch Dragon God number 1. The rocket was about to be launched, but for some reason, Li Fan had a bad feeling. Chun had said that there was no room for error here, but he had practiced martial arts for many years. This kind of instinct had never lied to him. Something's not right. Looking at the rocket that was slowly ejecting flames and beginning to take off, Li Fan suddenly felt that something was wrong. Chun, tell me, if I'm from America and I'm facing a terrifying enemy, what do you think I'll do? I think, it must be that, right? Chun also seemed to sense something. She raised her head in surprise and looked at the Dragon God number 1 that had already flown into the sky. Not good. Li Fan also frowned. His knees bent slightly, and his whole body suddenly bounced up. He used the dragon soaring through the 9 heavens several times, and his feet stepped on the void. With this force, he continued to rise into the air and soon caught up to the rocket that had not yet flown far. With a flick of his hand, Li Fan activated the dragon capturing hand. With the help of the dragon catcher hand's suction force, he was pulled onto the rocket. At this moment, Li Fan's aura instantly enveloped the entire rocket. He finally found an invisible guy. Dragon subduing sword, azure dragon drops water. Li Fan stretched out his hand and pointed. The sword chi shot out and hit it. Bang! A palm-sized spider robot was directly sent flying by Li Fan's sword chi. It fell into the air and exploded. This huge explosion almost affected the rocket that had risen even higher. Fortunately, the rocket had already begun to accelerate and was able to shake off this explosion. Li Fan used one hand to suck in the rocket. He carefully examined it and only relaxed when he found that there were no more abnormalities. However, when he looked down, he realized that he had flown at least a few thousand meters into the sky. At this distance, even if he had divine protection, it would be difficult for him to save his life. Li Fan had also performed high-altitude jumps in the sky before, but the height at that time was not this high. However, what kind of person was Li Fan? He was a saint-tier expert. He let go of the rocket and his body fell down. However, at the same time, Li Fan took off his jacket in the air and unfolded it. He had infused his jacket with powerful inner force to ensure that it would not be torn apart by the airflow. Both of his arms were tightly pulling on the jacket. Li Fan felt as if he was holding onto a wild horse that was about to escape. It was very difficult for him to control this jacket. However, Li Fan still floated down bit by bit. Like a god descending to the mortal world, he slowly landed on the ground. What a good Huaxia's guardian. Seeing this scene, Jiang Feng could not help but raise his head and use his hands to form a small tent. While blocking the sunlight, he praised, with this kind of strength, even if that old man Murong were to be revived, he would not be able to do it. Traitor! Muronging squeezed out a sentence from her mouth, if you talk about my father again, you will leave your life here. Junior sister, you are still so overbearing. Jiang Feng clasped his hands behind his back and chuckled, if you can be a little gentler, the two of you would have already traveled the pugilistic world hand in hand, like a celestial couple. It is a pity that with such an ending, the two of you would end up parting ways. What? Are you here to talk about me again? Muronging laughed coldly. A cold light flashed in her eyes, since you like to talk so much, why don't you abandon Wukongwen? It is also a way out. Jiang Feng seemed to seriously consider for a moment before nodding his head, however, that will have to be after the entire pugilistic world is overturned. Especially your Murong family. As long as this family is not eliminated, my heart will not be able to calm down. Humph. Muronging seemed to be too lazy to talk to Jiang Feng anymore. With a wave of her sleeves, she no longer bothered with him. Jiang Feng did not pester her and continued to look at the sky. It was as if he was looking forward to Li Fan's return. Muronging was exceptionally intelligent. She seemed to have already guessed that something was wrong. Her eyebrows slightly knitted together. Even though she was frowning, it did not reduce her beauty in the slightest. Li Fan had already lightly landed on the ground. At this moment, Dragon God number 1 was finally launched into space. It left the rocket and entered a fixed orbit. Huaxia was filled with cheers. The entire country was in jubilation. With this Dragon God number 1, from now on, Huaxia would no longer need to look at America's face. But the happiest person was Jiang Feng. He could not even suppress the ecstasy in his heart. He laughed out loud. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. Li Fan was a little shocked. He looked at Jiang Feng, are you crazy? Li Fan, do you think I would be so kind as to help you? Jiang Feng finally revealed his final trump card, Secretary Li has already seen through your plot. We are more skillful. We have already tampered with Dragon God number 1. Saying that, he stretched out his hand and pointed to the sky. Let me show you the true power of Dragon God number 1. Li Fan and Muronging looked at each other. They could see the unease in each other's eyes. Chapter 1368. The dragon god number 1 was sent into space and quietly floated in its predetermined orbit. As the Huaxia guardian of space, it had its own great mission. When a ray of sunlight shone on it from afar, the hexagonal satellite began to slowly change shape. Segment after segment of its steel body was dragged out of the hexagonal satellite and extended outwards. Soon, a total of 7 segments extended from the steel body. The first segment had a head, the second and sixth segments had claws, and the last segment had a tail. Its back was made of molten gold, which was used to absorb sunlight as energy. There were 2 types of energy drives installed on the body of the dragon god number 1. One was the small nuclear fission device at the core of the dragon god number 1, and the other was the solar drive on the back. Under normal circumstances, the dragon god number 1 only needed to absorb energy from the sun to maintain its daily operations. Every 10 years, it would fly back to land from space to be upgraded and maintained. When it entered combat mode, it was far from enough to just absorb the energy from the sun. At this time, it needed to use the nuclear fission device in its body to provide powerful energy to the Huaxia dragon god, turning it from a guardian to a true war machine. But at this moment, this guardian had received a summon. Only then did it transform from its satellite form to its dragon god form, preparing to unleash a thunderous fury. Muronging was also here to protect the dragon god number 1. Because Li Fan had done a good job, she could not be bothered to do anything. But now, the situation did not look good. Jiang Feng's reliance seemed to have finally arrived. Could it be that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind? If that was the case, Jiang Feng's intelligence was a little too terrifying. Sigh. She could not help but sigh softly. From the first time she met Jiang Feng, she did not like him. Although he was trying his best to please her, Muronging was extremely intelligent and could see through his hypocrisy at a glance. Staying at Murong's house, he must also have some ulterior motive. Now that she thought about it, this person was really ambitious. In the distant space, the dragon god satellite spat out a golden light that shone directly on Jiang Feng's body. Jiang Feng's body began to transform. The dragon chip in his body slowly moved, and in the end, it actually swam to his forehead and broke open between his eyebrows, revealing a red crystal imprint. This reminded Li Fan of the androids from the past, the chosen ones. The United States had used the Zeus system to enhance Eve, and it appeared that Jiang Feng and the Dove faction were also planning to do the same. They wanted to use Dragon God number 1 to strengthen the dragon chip in Jiang Feng's body so that he could break through in one go and reach the state of a supreme god. The golden light was so intense that even Li Fan didn't dare to touch it. Muronging. Your Murong Villa and Li Fan's 7 Knights Villa will all be destroyed by me. Jiang Feng laughed heartily as he accepted the baptism of the dragon god's power. Under the enhancement of Dragon God number 1, the dragon chip in Jiang Feng's body was utilized to the extreme. The clothes on his upper body were shredded, and several nano chips grew out of his hands, shoulders, and legs. On his back, 2 pairs of chips grew out. These 2 pairs of chips slowly extended and actually turned into 2 pairs of blood-red crystal wings. So this is power. Jiang Feng's face was full of joy as he felt his own strength. Yes, this is the power. I will use this power to destroy you all. You're really something. Li Fan looked at the strengthened Jiang Feng and said softly, you actually used Dragon God number 1 and me. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Jiang Feng sneered, those ignorant barbarians think they can use me, Jiang Feng. In their dreams, I will be the one laughing in the end. As long as I destroy you all, Secretary Li will grant me riches and honor. At that time, I will take my sister and live a happy life. As for you people, you will be buried by me in history. The Chinese martial world will cease to exist. I've really underestimated you. Li Fan cupped his hands, expressing his admiration, your ability to endure has far exceeded my expectations. I should have known that with your character, you wouldn't run over to help me for nothing. Obediently admit your failure. Li Fan. The golden light slowly dissipated. Jiang Feng's body had already expanded to a height of 2 meters. 2 pairs of red crystal wings flapped on his back, making him look majestic and imposing. Even the 12-7 hero swordsmen didn't dare to act rashly. They could already feel a terrifying pressure coming from Jiang Feng's body. Under this pressure, they couldn't even move, let alone draw their swords to fight him. Saint rank. Li Fan and Muronging looked at each other again. They didn't expect that Jiang Feng would rely on Dragon God No. 1's help to forcefully raise his strength from a quasi-saint to a saint rank in an instant. This kind of rapid evolution was not something an ordinary person's body could withstand. But Jiang Feng's body had already been strengthened by the dragon chips several times, so he was able to withstand this power. Enough with the nonsense. Muronging had always been straightforward. She scared off the disciples of the villa, then pointed 2 fingers at Jiang Feng and unleashed a sharp sword aura. Muronging was already proficient in turning illusions into reality. Now that she had reached the 3rd-level martial god realm, she was like a tiger that had grown wings. The sword aura she unleashed turned into hundreds of swords in the air and shot toward Jiang Feng. Ha! Child's play. Jiang Feng's current strength was incredible, so he didn't care about the sword aura at all. He crossed his arms and stood there, allowing the sword aura to hit his body. Clang clang clang. The sword aura was repelled by the invisible protective chi around his body, unable to hurt him at all. Do you need help? Li Fan stood at the side with his hands behind his back and asked with a smile. That's an unnecessary question. Muronging harumphed coldly. She suddenly reached out her hand and grabbed 2 swords out of thin air. Following this, she traveled a distance of over 10 meters and arrived in front of Jiang Feng as if she had shattered the void. When Muronging was only 16 years old, she had become unrivaled with the Murong dual swords technique that she had invented herself. Since then, she had never used the Murong dual swords technique. Today, in the battle against Jiang Feng, she had used her trump card, which surprised Li Fan a little. It seemed like Jiang Feng's threat level had reached a certain level, so much so that even Muronging had to take him seriously. Muronging brandished the 2 swords in a beautiful manner. She slashed continuously at Jiang Feng with both swords. However, Jiang Feng just stood there and continued to unleash Shura sword aura technique with his fingers, repelling Murong-Ying's swords with brute force. Junior sister, look, you're no longer a match for me. Chapter 1369. What kind of person was Murong-Ying? She was proud and arrogant. How could she allow herself to be taken advantage of like this? Junior sister, the first time you used Murong's dual swords, you used me as a sparring partner. Jiang Feng's lips curled into a smile. No one knows your swordplay better than I do. You want to use it to defeat me? How is that possible? As he said that, Jiang Feng aimed at an opening and flicked his Shura sword aura, which flew past Murong-Ying's neck. A shallow wound was immediately left on Murong-Ying's fair neck. I created the Shura divine swords with all my heart and soul. How can your swordplay compare to it? Jiang Feng taunted Murong-Ying as he fought. Manor Lord, we're here to help you. As Murong-Ying's bodyguards, the gold and silver swords finally could not stand it anymore. They jumped out and wielded their long swords at the same time. They turned into 2 streaks of golden and silver light and shot toward Jiang Feng. Stop! Murong-Ying frowned, but Jiang Feng sneered. He flicked his fingers and 2 crimson Shura sword auras flew out, shattering the 2 long swords. In the blink of an eye, blood appeared on the gold and silver swords' throats. The 2 of them did not even see each other's attacks clearly before they died. Damn it! Murong-Ying's pretty face was covered in frost. The gold and silver swords had followed her for a long time and were loyal to her. Now that they had died for no reason in Fang Ping's base, how could she not be angry? You can't blame me. Jiang Feng shrugged. They're just too weak. They're like ants. I could kill them with a flick of my finger. If that's the case, I'll kill your subordinates too. When Murong-Ying's temper flared up, she was also a female devil. She faced the royal guards in the distance and opened her palm. In an instant, 7 swords suddenly fell from the sky, piercing the bodies of the royal guards and nailing them to the ground. Shui Wuxin almost died under the swords, but she was a grandmaster-level expert. Shui Wuxin used the long whip in her hand to block the falling swords and rolled to the side. Up to you. Jiang Feng didn't care. They've already lost their value. You can kill them if you want. My lord, Shui Wuxin's body shuddered when he heard this, as if he couldn't react in time. Wuxin, it's been hard on you for so long. Jiang Feng looked at Shui Wuxin and gently said, You've helped me so much, the only way I can repay you is to kill you with my own hands, okay? Why? Shui Wuxin was incomparably shocked. Am I not your loyal subordinate? What, you're not willing to die for me? This subordinate is willing to die for you at any time. Shui Wuxin let out a long sigh and knelt down in front of Jiang Feng, lowering her head as if she was waiting for his punishment. Very good. Jiang Feng nodded. Other than my sister, no other woman can affect my feelings. Shui Wuxin, you've helped me a lot, so killing you with my own hands can be considered a worthy death. Please. Sir, please make a move. Shui Wuxin's body slightly trembled, and even his voice was trembling. To be able to die in his hands, seems, not bad, at least. I have an explanation, right? Very good. Jiang Feng was very satisfied, he was now the strongest, there was no need to rely on others. Die for me. Jiang Feng waved his hand and an Azura sect sword chi flew straight at Shui Wuxin. His sword chi was as fast as lightning, reaching Shui Wuxin in the blink of an eye. Shui Wuxin steeled her heart, closed her eyes, and waited for death. But at this time, a figure appeared in front of her, and at the same time, slapped away the sword chi. Bang! The sword chi pierced through a building next to it and went out. Shui Wuxin was a little surprised, looking at Li Fan who was blocking in front of her, she couldn't understand. Why did he want to protect her? Interesting. Jiang Feng said without turning his head as he fought with Murong, I didn't expect you to be so nosy. Yes. Li Fan was full of smiles, if you're not convinced, then bite me. Li Fan, don't be complacent for too long. After I kill Murong, it'll be your turn. You go. Li Fan helped Shui Wuxin up from the ground and said to her, Don't meddle in this muddy water anymore. I'm already a useless person, why save me? Nonsense. Li Fan's eyes widened, why do you need to rely on Jiang Feng to realize your value? Shui Wuxin was a little confused. All along, she had been living for Jiang Feng. Now that she lost this goal, she really didn't know what to do. Idiot woman. Go away and cool off. Li Fan couldn't stand Shui Wuxin's character, how could she live without Jiang Feng? Go, here, kill yourself. Li Fan casually threw a long sword to Shui Wuxin, don't disturb our work. Shui Wuxin hugged the long sword, speechless. This man, why doesn't he have any tender feelings for the fairer sex, would it kill him to persuade me a few more words? Junior sister. Admit defeat. However, on the battlefield, Jiang Feng actually suppressed Murong, causing Murong to be in a disadvantageous position. Murong, how about I go? Li Fan advised, your kung fu is not good enough. Humph. Murong was very unhappy. Jiang Feng and Li Fan, these two guys, actually surpassed her and even created a very powerful kung fu. She would not admit defeat. After all, she was fully deserving of the title of Wulin's chancellor. Who said that a man must be stronger than a woman? She, Murong, could also defeat these two men. Ice Flame Sword Technique. She suddenly took a step back, distancing herself from Jiang Feng. Then, Murong let out a long breath. Her two swords suddenly changed. The long sword in her left hand turned red, as if it was burning with a raging flame. The scorching power caused the surrounding air to distort. And the long sword in her right hand condensed into a bluish-white color. A dense cold air spread out, forming a layer of faint frost on the ground. Murong-ying originally cultivated the flame palm, and later on, Li Fan had instilled cold elemental energy into her body. Therefore, her body could simultaneously display two types of fire and ice elemental internal energy. This was similar to the Qilin palm that Li Fan had created all those years ago. However, Murong-ying opened up a new path and actually used this method on her sword technique. With her dual sword technique, she created a set of ice flame sword technique. Raging Prairie Fire, Ice Country, 130% power. Murong-ying raised her two swords, bringing along two completely opposite sword qi, directly towards Jiang Feng. Not good. Even Jiang Feng, under these two sword qi, couldn't help but change his expression. With his strength, he wouldn't be able to block this move. What a powerful Murong-ying, she actually had this kind of talent. Bang! The internal energy under his feet exploded, and his whole body instantly shot up tens of meters into the sky. Chapter 1370. Who said that women were inferior to men? Who said that only men had the right to inherit? In Murong-ying's heart, she hated this kind of saying the most. Li Fan and Jiang Feng had created their own kung fu, why couldn't she, Murong-ying? Prairie Fire, Country of Ice, 130% power. Murong-ying wielded two swords in her left and right hand, executing two different sword techniques, and threw them at Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng was a little surprised. These two sword techniques had different attributes, and each had several ways of attacking. But Murong-ying seemed to have different brain controls for her left and right hand, and she easily executed two different sword techniques at the same time. Jiang Feng could block one move, but he couldn't block the other. A person's thinking has a habit. You can use both hands at the same time, but you can only execute the same movement. But if you want your left hand to draw a square, and your right hand to draw a circle at the same time, then it would be very difficult. This was like the mutual left and right hand fighting in Jin Yong's novels. Once mastered, using both hands to execute different moves, the power was really amazing. Jiang Feng's vigor qi was enough to deal with ordinary experts, but in front of a martial sage like Murong-ying, it was like a piece of paper. If he allowed Murong-ying's sword technique to hit him, it would not be a joke. Azura's Wrath. Jiang Feng's body expanded a lot, and his body was wrapped in a layer of black light. But this black light quickly began to change, and in a short while, the black light faded into white light. An even more powerful aura immediately spread out. Li Fan understood. Jiang Feng's black Azura aura had probably been cultivated to the peak, and had turned into the final stage of white Azura. Sure enough, the current Jiang Feng's body was white, and his whole body was like a white tiger man, roaring at Murong-ying. After Azura transformation, Jiang Feng's strength actually increased a little. He actually passed through the gap between Murong-ying's attack, and appeared in front of Murong-ying. Then, with an Azura star picking, he directly stabbed at Murong-ying's heart. After transforming into an Azura, Jiang Feng's speed was too fast. Even though Murong-ying was already a martial saint, she still couldn't keep up. However, Murong-ying was an outstanding saint-level martial fighter after all. She reacted subconsciously and struck out with her two swords, instantly blocking Jiang Feng's palm. If Jiang Feng insisted on tearing open Murong-ying's heart, then his palm and throat would not be spared. Murong-ying's swordplay was focused on attacking vital points. At this moment, there were two swords. One was aimed at the tendons on Jiang Feng's wrist, and the other was aimed at his throat. No matter how long Jiang Feng's arm was, could it be longer than a sword? Jiang Feng stopped his body in the air in time. At the same time, he slid back more than 10 meters. What do you think? Murong-ying also landed on the ground with one foot on the ground and the other in the air. Her snow-white thighs were extremely alluring. She held her sword with both hands, her eyes filled with arrogance as she stared at Jiang Feng in the distance. Do you admit defeat? With this set of ice flame swordplay, Jiang Feng, who was much stronger than her, was forced to retreat step by step. Murong-ying was indeed Murong-ying. Li Fan, who was watching the show, wanted to clap his hands, but he thought about his current status and held back. Once a person had a status, they couldn't live too freely. The hatred between the Jiang family and Murong's family was almost irreconcilable. Murong's family caused the death of Jiang Feng's father and caused the destruction of their family. And Murong Bo, that old dog, had indirectly died in Jiang Feng's hands. This kind of blood feud was probably unresolvable. The only way to solve this problem was for one of the families to be completely wiped out, to be uprooted. However, the two of them were similar in strength. Jiang Feng's strength was slightly higher, while Murong Ying's combat skills were stronger. There was no way to determine the winner in a short period of time. In order to determine the winner, the two of them would have to fight for at least 3 days and 3 nights. Moreover, even if they fought for 3 days and 3 nights, they might not be able to kill each other. Therefore, at this moment, Li Fan's significance was extremely important. Third brother, the hatred between you and Murong's family isn't light either. Why don't you help me? I can make the decision not to touch your 7 Knights villa. When that time comes, you just have to move the 7 Knights villa to the island. How about it? Jiang Feng also knew about the Li family island. As he fought with Murong Ying, he made a condition to Li Fan. Even if the two of us come together, so what? Murong Ying was unmoved. There was no expression on her beautiful face. Look at this arrogant woman. Don't tell me you like her. Jiang Feng continued to persuade Li Fan. Stop dreaming, Li Fan. She's not yours. No matter how well you treat her, she won't be with you. This woman never knows what kindness is. She's a demon that belongs to Murong's family. She's just a sharp sword for Murong. You love her, but she'll kill you. Jiang Feng's words kept wandering in Li Fan's ears, causing Li Fan to be a little annoyed. This guy is really too noisy. Li Fan looked at Murong Ying. She didn't say a word. Her pride also didn't allow her to say anything. To her, there was only battle. Continue to battle. Let's talk about everything with martial arts. The only answer to the two men was the sound of swords piercing through the air. Whoosh! Whoosh! The two swords used different moves, one left and one right, one up and one down. They went straight for Jiang Feng. Murong Ying didn't have the slightest bit of mercy. She seemed to want to use her sword to cut off all feelings. See that? That's her. This woman doesn't love you at all. You should give up on her. With your strength, it won't be a problem for you to find as many women as you want. Jiang Feng's words made Li Fan think for a while. That's right. As long as Murong Villa existed, Murong Ying would never return to his side. If he wanted this woman to come over without any burden and with a clear conscience, he must make Murong Villa disappear. However, if he was the one who eliminated Murong Villa, Murong Ying would probably hate him for the rest of her life. In that case, even if she didn't take revenge on him, she would never be willing to face him again. She might find a place to hide and never see him again for the rest of her life. Therefore, Murong Villa must be eliminated. Moreover, he had to use other people's hands to eliminate it. In summary, Jiang Feng couldn't die for the time being. His hatred for Murong Villa might be able to divert the trouble and drive the tiger to chase the wolf. However, Jiang Feng was a very cunning person. If he wanted to use him, he might be used by him instead. At this moment, Li Fan's brain was working at full speed, thinking of a way to deal with it. Conquering Murong Ying was also a big task that he had to solve. As for Jiang Feng, he was only a martial sage. Li Fan didn't mind having another martial sage opponent. He had been through a lot of ups and downs. When had he ever been afraid? Thinking of this, Li Fan suddenly laughed. How about I join the battle of the best? Chapter 1371. Li Fan finally made his move. Jiang Feng's and Murong Ying's combined combat strength is almost the same. Right now, Li Fan's interference broke the balance between the two of them, forming a three-way stalemate. Although Jiang Feng is a demon-like character, Li Fan still wants to try and make use of him. This is like a risky investment, where benefits and risks coexist. Only those who are bold and meticulous can benefit from it. Li Fan is not a schemer, nor is he a ruthless person, but he wants to make a big gamble at this moment. Good third brother, are you here to help me? It is unknown if Jiang Feng's expression is happy or shocked as he asks with a beaming smile. No. I just saw an expert and am a bit itchy, so I want to spar. I hope you can give me a chance. Li Fan laughs heartily as he waves his hand and slaps Jiang Feng's wrist. Jiang Feng's tiger claw originally clawed at Murong Ying, but now it is forcefully repelled. Third brother. Murong Ying raises her sword, but Li Fan raises his leg and kicks her sword away. What are you doing? Murong Ying glares at Li Fan, but Li Fan shrugs his shoulders. I already said I am itchy. Murong Ying's left hand stabs at Li Fan's left rib with an ice snow sword. Azura star seizing. And Jiang Feng also clawed at Li Fan's chest. Li Fan reaches out his hand and activates Dragon Capturing Hand. The spring wave sword is sucked into his palm, and he raises it up, blocking Murong Ying's sword. At the same time, his left hand slaps away Jiang Feng's fierce palm with Black Dragon Ice Palm. Don't interfere. Murong Ying seems to be a bit angry. This Li Fan, he doesn't even look at the opportunity to mess things up. Since you want to fight, then I will leave. Murong Ying wanted to leave. However, at that moment, Li Fan waved his hand, and a stream of sword chi swept out in front of Murong Ying's feet, slicing out a crack in the ground. Wife, the victor hasn't been decided yet, why are you in such a hurry to leave? I'm not playing either. Jiang Feng knew that there was no way to determine who was stronger. With his personality, he naturally wanted to find a place to cultivate properly before looking for an opportunity to kill Li Fan. However, Li Fan had no intention of letting him go. His avatar appeared and used the Yellow Emperor rides the dragon to force Jiang Feng back. The two of them had no choice but to fight with Li Fan again. Li Fan was also a top martial sage. He actually managed to fight to a draw with the other two martial sages with his exquisite moves and the ability of his avatar. Li Fan was establishing his might. He wanted to let the two of them know that he didn't put them in his eyes with his martial strength. Murong Ying was fine. She probably wouldn't come to provoke him in the future. However, Jiang Feng was an ambitious person. He would definitely think of a way to defeat him. However, he couldn't ally with Murong's family. Therefore, his only way was to completely destroy Murong's family. The three of them finally touched their palms and actually began to compete with each other's internal energy. A powerful force spread out from the three of them, impacting the surroundings. Murong Ying and Jiang Feng were shocked. Li Fan's internal energy was so strong that he could compete with the two of them. Li Fan, what are you trying to do? Third brother, I know that you like to fight, but as your brother, I have many things to do. Why don't you let me go and let your junior sister practice with you? The two of them were a little baffled. Could it be that Li Fan liked to fight? Murong Ying knew that Li Fan was a martial arts fanatic. However, fighting like this wasn't satisfying at all. You guys should have seen it too. It's not a problem for me to fight the two of you alone. Li Fan said proudly, after all, the two of you are at odds with each other. If you don't work together, it's impossible to defeat me. However, if the three of us continue fighting, I think we won't be able to determine a victor without 7 days and 7 nights. In the end, all three of us will suffer. Since you know that, why do you still force us to fight with you? Murong Ying didn't say anything. However, Jiang Feng had already thought it through. State your conditions. Alright, let's not beat around the bush. My conditions are very simple. As for Jiang Feng, I want to fight with the Martial Imperial Hall in the future. As the representative of the Dove faction, you naturally have to deal with the Martial Imperial Hall. Therefore, my request is that when I challenge the Martial Imperial Hall, you must come out and help me once. Sure. Jiang Feng's eyes flickered and immediately agreed. He represented the interests of the Dove faction. Naturally, the martial Imperial Hall had to be eliminated. The dragon god number 1 had already ascended to the heavens. If the Seven Knights Villa and Murong Villa couldn't be eliminated, the upper echelons would probably start reshuffling. After all, the Dove faction was still a powerful force. It definitely wouldn't fall anytime soon. As long as he took advantage of the situation to eliminate the martial Imperial Hall, the Dove faction might have a chance to make a comeback. As for my wife, I don't have any other requests. You can stay by my side and be my hired thug for a month. Hearing this, Jiang Feng sneered in his heart. As expected, he was a sentimental person. At this time, he still wanted to redeem his relationship with Murong. Impossible. Murong flatly refused. She couldn't stay by Li Fan's side anymore. Otherwise, sooner or later, she would lay down her arms and surrender. Wife, I'm borrowing you for a month because I have something important to do during this month. Li Fan said seriously, it's a huge matter that concerns my country. Therefore, you must help me. If you lie to me, you're dead meat. Originally, she wanted to curse Li Fan, but Murong couldn't bear to do so. She merely rebuked him. Don't worry. When have I ever lied to you? Li Fan raised his voice. Jiang Feng, Murong, let's call a truce for a month. During this month, we won't attack each other. How about it? All right, I'll agree to it. Jiang Feng nodded. This was exactly what he wanted. He had just increased his strength and needed to rest and consolidate his strength before making any plans. That's good. Let's do it like that. Li Fan was done with the foreplay and had some confidence in his heart. I'll count to 3, and the 3 of us will stop at the same time. How about it? Sure. The 3 of them agreed. When Li Fan counted to 3, they would stop at the same time. Bang! A huge force spread out. The 3 of them each took a step back. Li Fan's face was slightly red, but he quickly suppressed it. Second brother, good move. Li Fan said, but Jiang Feng was a bit baffled. Li Fan, I've already agreed to what you said. Let's meet again another day. After saying that, Jiang Feng turned his head and flew away like a big bird without sparing a glance at Shui Wuxin, who was standing at the side. After he left, Li Fan's expression finally relaxed. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. He hurt you? Murong immediately understood. She stepped forward and grabbed Li Fan's wrist. In Li Fan's chi meridian, a surge of Azura chi was running amok. You, fool! Li Fan saw that Murong Ying's eyes were actually a bit red. Chapter 1372. How is it? Murong Ying retracted her palms and looked at Li Fan, who was emitting 5 streams of white smoke above his head as she asked. She had already helped Li Fan heal his injuries for 3 consecutive days and finally dissolved the trace of Azura chi in his body. Jiang Feng, you really deserve to die, why did you leave him alive? Murong angrily looked at Li Fan, if you want to deal with the Martial Imperial Palace, I'll help you. How can that be? Li Fan retracted his internal force and the white smoke above his head slowly dissipated. He raised his head and looked at the angry beauty in front of him and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Didn't you promise Murong Bo, to be my enemy forever? Didn't you force me to be your fighter for a month? Murong snorted, you're still saying this now, you're just pretending to be obedient. That's not the same. No matter what, the Martial Imperial Palace can be considered as our country's internal conflict. I asked you for help, even if I let you break the agreement with your father. But what I want you to join hands with me to deal with is another bigger threat. If this threat is not resolved, the entire world will cease to exist. Your Murong Villa and my 7 Knights Villa will also disappear. You're not helping me, but yourself. Li Fan's words flowed like a river, but he was secretly muttering in his heart. Fortunately, Murong did not discover his little trick. This time, Li Fan could be considered to have gambled. When the 3 of them retracted their cultivation, Jiang Feng did not sneak attack him. Instead, he used the dragon engulfing thousand elephant to retain a portion of power from Jiang Feng's palm. After he retracted his cultivation, Li Fan forcibly sent this Azura Qi into his body and attacked his heart meridian. He pretended to be secretly injured by Jiang Feng in order to make Jiang Feng bear the name of treachery. This way, the things to be done later would be logical. Jiang Feng injured you like this. If it wasn't for me helping you, I'm afraid you would have been crippled even if you didn't die. It was not a trivial matter to have one's heart vein injured. Muronging couldn't help but blame Li Fan for being too conceited. I think it's better for me to kill my way to the royal guards and kill them all. He's just a clown. We don't have time to care about him. Li Fan, however, shook his head. As long as he's willing to abide by the 1-month agreement and not attack us, it's fine. What kind of threat is it that makes you take it so seriously? Muronging found it strange. She had never seen Li Fan look so serious, as if the end of the world was coming. You'll know soon enough. Li Fan stood up slowly. Counting the days, it's about time for the government to come looking for me. It was like fortune-telling. As soon as Li Fan finished speaking, Chun Er's voice came from outside the door. Husband, General Ran is here to see you. I've arranged for him to wait in the front hall. Okay. Li Fan nodded. He reached out and held Murong Ying's little hand. My wife, come with me to see him. You little thief. How can you be so touchy? Murong Ying's pretty face blushed and she wanted to pull her hand back. But she couldn't pull her hand back even after she tried twice. Murong Ying gritted her teeth and let Li Fan hold her hand. You're my wife anyway. No matter what, you belong to me for this month. Li Fan's shamelessness made Murong Ying feel helpless. He was already a grandmaster, but sometimes he acted like a child. Murong Ying looked at Li Fan's back and thought of the time when she first met him. He was an ignorant teenager who followed her and learned martial arts. At this time, she was a little infatuated. Li Fan held Murong Ying's hand and walked through the long corridor. Peach blossoms were planted on both sides of the corridor. The peach blossoms were in full bloom. The pink petals had a faint fragrance, which made people feel refreshed as if they had come to a paradise. You really know how to enjoy living in such a place. Murong Ying couldn't help but tease. I've wanted to build a manor like this for you and me to live in. Nonsense. Why would we need such a big manor with just the two of us? This place is so big. Someone has to clean it, right? With the two of us here, is there a need for someone? We'll just have 8 or 10 children and let them clean the manor every day. Screw you. Murong Ying couldn't help but laugh. How can you order your own child around like a servant? Besides, who wants to have 8 or 10 children for you? They're not pigs. Ha, the country has opened up the 2-child policy. It's fine to have 2. Humph, Murong Ying pursed her lips. You make it sound nice. The person you like the most in your heart isn't me. How is that possible? Aren't you the person I yearn for day and night? Li Fan said hurriedly. I don't want to fight for this. Murong Ying recalled the person Li Fan was protecting at Fang Ping's restaurant. The person you like the most is that Lu Zhu. Wife, don't tease me. Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat. Ever since Lu Zhu joined in the fun with Li Fan at the restaurant, he had no idea where she went. Although Li Fan was worried, he didn't worry too much when he remembered that he had plenty of experience in the martial arts world. Could it be that you've read too many novels and become a fujoshi? Don't you like him? Why are you always protecting him? Murong Ying was a little unhappy. She questioned Li Fan directly, even at the expense of offending me. Hey, what are you talking about? Isn't he my brother? How could I just watch him get killed by you? Is that so? Jiang Feng is your nominal second brother. Why don't I see you protecting him? This isn't the same thing. Li Fan wiped his cold sweat. He didn't expect Murong Ying to be so hard to deal with when she was serious. Humph, even if you don't admit it, in your heart." Before she could finish her sentence, she saw General Ran passing through the corridor and was hurrying toward her. He was dressed in a military uniform and seemed to be in a hurry, as if he was a little anxious. General Ran was overjoyed when he saw Li Fan. He waved and said, "Hey, my senior Colonel Li, the country is in danger. Why are you still being affectionate here?" Murong blushed when she heard this. She used some strength to shake Li Fan off. "Ahem, General Ran, that's not right. Murong is my wife, but she is also the owner of Murong Villa. Is she not qualified to see you with her identity?" "Yes, yes, yes. If you say so. Owner Murong, it's an honor to meet you for a long time." General Ran imitated the style of martial arts people. He cupped his hands to Murong, and then his eyes fell on Li Fan. "Let's get down to business, ancestor." Murong muttered in her heart. What happened? Why is General Ran so anxious? "General Ran, don't make fun of me. Come, this way, please." Li Fan led General Ran into a small pavilion on the side. This small pavilion was surrounded by blooming peach blossoms. It was beautiful. Chapter 1373. Is this safe? General Ran looked around and was a little worried when he saw that there was no one around the pavilion. If he had known, he would have sent all his guards to surround the place. "Don't worry." Li Fan clapped his hands, and 12 7-hero swordsmen suddenly appeared from the surroundings. None of them had any aura, and they silently guarded the pavilion. General Ran was a little surprised, but Murong had long noticed and was not surprised. At this time, Chun-Er stepped forward and poured tea for the three of them, then stood to the side to serve them. "This place is a dragon's pool and tiger's den." General Ran could not help but say. "To the enemy, of course it is a dragon's pool and tiger's den." Li Fan chuckled. "But to you and me, this is a paradise." Murong sat to the side and looked at Li Fan, her eyes a little confused. This little man had grown so much in just a few years. Now, he chatted with a general as if it were a family matter, as if he did not care about the other party's identity at all. He had grown, and to a level that even she had not expected. Now, he was mighty and extraordinary, and was no longer the young man who needed her protection. His wings were full, and he could fly to the sky. This was the current Li Fan. "Villa Master Li, try the tea of our villa. This is a new batch of tea, and it is better than the one you had last time." Li Fan did not seem to be in a hurry, and he even recommended his new tea to General Ran. "If it tastes good, remember to help me advertise it. Those high officials and nobles in the capital should not always spend a lot of money on those expensive teas. My tea here, in addition to being cheap, has the effect of prolonging life. It can be called medicinal tea. These tea leaves were personally cultivated by Luo Xiaofeng. After all, he was a genius disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. In addition to alchemy, it was not difficult for him to cultivate medicinal tea. After all, Li Fan runs such a large villa. In addition to tourism, he has to think of other ways to make money. This medicinal tea was an idea that Dong had thought of for him. Although this girl was a man of few words and had a cold personality, she was knowledgeable and had a lot of ideas. The tea is not bad. Sigh. General Ran suddenly put down the cup and said, "I didn't come here to talk about tea with you. I'll recommend him to you later. There's an important matter that you must help with." "Something big? What's going on?" Li Fan pretended not to know anything. In front of General Ran, he gently held Murong Ying's little hand, making Murong Ying's pretty face blush. "It wasn't easy for me and Xiaoying to reunite. We still have to spend some time together. This is the most important thing." Murong Ying shook off Li Fan's hand and glared at him coquettishly. This guy was obviously very eager in his heart, but he just had to pretend in front of General Ran. He probably wanted some benefits. "You two close the door. You can do whatever you want." General Ran was a little anxious, so he didn't care about his military prestige anymore. He said straightforwardly, according to the government's observation, a terrible guy will be born soon. At that time, I'm afraid the people will really be plunged into misery and suffering. Who could be so powerful? Li Fan disagreed. Our dragon god number 1 has already ascended to the heavens. Your status in the capital should be like the sun at high noon. Who do you still need to be afraid of? This guy. Even dragon god number 1 can't deal with him. General Ran smiled bitterly. Do you know about the Millennium Disaster? Millennium Disaster? What the hell? Li Fan continued to play dumb. He had already gotten this information from Bai Lin Luo. But now, he had to pretend to the end to achieve his desired goal. Legend has it that every 1,000 years, there will be a major disaster in the world. General Ran went straight to the point and didn't hide anything. He immediately said, "Do you know about Demon Island?" "I've heard a little about it. I heard that 3 people entered this island in the past. One of them was called Mr. Yang, who later joined the parliament. One was called Prophet, who followed our government and established the Special Abilities Bureau. The last one created the Golden Empire and called himself the God of Creation." Yes, it's these 3 people. They once mistakenly entered Demon Island and obtained the power of Demon Island. General Ran nodded. Everyone mistakenly thinks that Demon Island is a blessed land, but that's not the case. This Fiend Island was a huge sealing formation, and a terrifying fiend was sealed on it. Every 1,000 years, the demon will leave the island, destroy the world, and then let the world be reborn. Fallacy. If that's the case, how could China have 5,000 years of history? Li Fan shook his head as if he didn't believe General Ran's words. At first, we thought so too. But later, we learned that since 5,000 years ago, humans had joined forces with the 4 sacred beasts to seal this demon. After the fall of the 4 sacred beasts, humans relied on the successors of the 4 sacred beasts to seal the array once every 1,000 years. But now, the successors of the 4 sacred beasts. Their strength is declining year by year. I heard that this time, they are powerless to seal the array. The demon is about to break the seal. The current 4 sacred beasts are just scum relying on the legacy of their ancestors. Li Fan snorted coldly. Those fellows were still clamoring to kill me and Dragoness, but there's no movement now. Well, the 4 of them have been in seclusion to seal the array, General Ran explained. Now, they are about to come out. We have almost found the location of Demon Island and are ready to set off to fight the demon. You have found the location of Demon Island? Li Fan was a little surprised. He had thought that no one but him would find that Demon Island. It's all thanks to you for helping us study the body of the God of Creation. General Ran patted Li Fan's shoulder, feeling gratified. We studied his brain and found the approximate location of Demon Island from the memory of the brain waves left inside. Technology was really scary. If the God of Creation knew that his body had been developed in this way, he would probably be so angry that he would come back to life. It's not just us. According to the news that we deliberately released, all the major countries are also preparing to go to Demon Island. General Ran's expression became solemn. This is a very important mission. Li Fan, you must complete it. I won't go. Li Fan waved his hand. I don't care about the demon. I'll leave it to you big shots to deal with it. When the time comes, we can just drop a few atomic bombs on the island and solve it. If atomic bombs can solve it, why do we need to find you? General Ran rolled his eyes at Li Fan's words. The island is protected by an inexplicable magnetic field. Missiles can't lock onto it, and planes can't fly over it. Previously, the United States secretly dropped a nuclear bomb, but it disappeared without a trace when it reached the island. Chapter 1374. Oh. So powerful. Li Fan was still not interested, but with so many countries united, there must be a way. Isn't there Jiang Feng in China? He's so powerful. Moreover, if the 4 sages join forces, that guy from Devil Island will have a hard time. I'm tired, and I'm ready to retire. Tell me, what benefits do you want? Having known Li Fan for a long time, he naturally knew what kind of person he was. General Ran didn't talk nonsense. He slapped his thigh and asked directly. Abolish the ban on martial arts. Li Fan's eyes lit up and he immediately said. Murong Ying, who was sitting next to him, also raised her head when she heard this. Her black eyes flashed with a different expression as she looked at Li Fan. General Ran was startled. He had thought of countless conditions for Li Fan. What would he want? Money? Power? It was nothing more than these two things. But he didn't expect that what Li Fan wanted would be this one. This, what? Have you forgotten your original lofty words after being promoted? Li Fan chuckled, who said that Wulin is an inseparable part of China. China has such a strong Wulin culture. Do you want to see this culture being obliterated? This is not a small matter. General Ran looked at Li Fan deeply. You brat. I really underestimated you. This condition won't benefit you at all. But you have to pay a lot. I'm a martial artist. Li Fan said very simply, it's too tiring for me to carry China's thousands of years of Wulin culture alone. He gently rubbed the purple clay teapot with his fingers. In the past, Wudang, Shaolin, Huashan, Beggar Gang, 4 villas, 4 major alliances, so many sects and so many masters. They inherited the martial arts of their sects from generation to generation, and they also inherited the chivalrous culture of their sections. When the Western powers invaded, they also contributed their strength to block the attacks of the Western masters for us. But look at China now, there are no masters to speak of. Even if there were, those people would have hidden themselves, afraid that they would become ghosts under the butcher knife of the government. Now that things have come to this, I have personally sent Dragon God number 1 into the sky, and now I have to go on a punitive expedition against such a terrifying enemy. I don't have any other requests. I just hope that Huaxia can restore the dignity of martial artists and reopen the doors of ancient martial arts. I understand what you mean, General Ran smiled bitterly. Right now, all the major sects had taken the cultivation dispersing pill. Their strength had greatly declined, and because of the medicinal effect, they would never be able to regain their original strength. Otherwise, with their foundations, it wouldn't take long for them to regain the inner force they had lost. That cultivation dispersing pill is incomparably tyrannical. Even if the ban on martial arts is lifted, I'm afraid it won't be able to restore the grand martial arts scene of the past. You don't have to worry about that. I have my ways. Li Fan smiled. Luo Xiaofeng had already developed a new medicinal pill called the reversal pill. This reversal pill had no other use but to counter Song Fuya's energy dispersing pill. Since ancient times, the Medicine King Valley had been divided into Yin and Yang gates. The poison of the Yin gate had to be solved by the people of the Yang gate. The reason why Luo Xiaofeng developed this antidote was to challenge the traitor of the Yin gate, the genius elder Song Fuya. But even if Li Fan had this antidote, without the official document from the government, he wouldn't dare to solve the poison in the bodies of the experts of the major sections. Because by doing so, not only would he not be helping them, it would be equivalent to harming them. Currently, there were a few relatively famous sects in Jianghu: Wudang, Shaolin, Amei, Qingcheng, Huashan, and Murong Villa. Among these 6 major sects, other than Murong Villa, the others had all taken the cultivation dispersing pill. They only existed in name and had really become tourist attractions. The 4 major alliances were basically finished. Leaning on the Sword and Laughing Breeze already belonged to the 7 Knights Villa and became the Leaning Sword Hall. As for Long Fangyu, who was riding on the Whistling West Wind, he might still be able to make some achievements. However, under the purge of the ban on martial arts, the number of experts under him was pitifully small. If he wanted to restore the glory of the previous alliance, he needed time to recuperate. In addition, the White Tiger Hall of the Central Plains had already merged with the Imperial Army and was now the henchman of the government. The remaining Xitigarbha Tomb Watchers had already been eliminated by the White Tiger Hall of the Central Plains. The other small sects and underground organizations had also ceased their activities and went into hiding. As long as he lifted the ban on martial arts, Li Fan believed that these sects would soon shine again. After all, they were sects that had existed for thousands of years. Naturally, they had their own way of survival. How about this? I only have this condition. Li Fan looked at General Ran. It's not too much, right? Indeed, you have good intentions. General Ran understood Li Fan's thoughts. In fact, he really admired people like Li Fan. But this matter is not up to me. Let me discuss it with the higher-ups. How about it? Sure, I will wait for your news. Li Fan was not in a hurry. He was just doing his duty. As for the rest, let him be. Come, have some tea. Not for now. I have to meet a few people. General Ran was not in the mood to drink tea. He came in a hurry and left in a hurry. After he left, Muronging finally spoke. Is it really okay for you to do this? Although Muronging admired Li Fan's integrity, she also felt that he was a little silly. My dear, do you know what it means to be more meritorious than one's master? Li Fan was not worried. He chuckled and looked at Muronging. Are you saying that the Eagle faction has been planning to attack you for a long time? I have too much power now. They can't let me continue to grow. Li Fan was thinking very far ahead. How can I allow others to sleep next to me? As the Supreme Sword, if I were alone, Huaxia would have to tolerate me, but they would not be afraid of me. But now, look at my manner. This power is enough to make Huaxia afraid. Then your condition is meaningless. It's better to ask for more benefits for yourself. Muronging was still a little puzzled. Am I such a selfish person in your heart? Li Fan stood up and looked into the distance. I, Li Fan, am just trying my best to maintain the martial arts world before I leave. Looking at the young man's back, Muronging was in a trance again. Could he really let go of such great power just like that? Now, Li Fan could be said to be the sun at high noon in Huaxia. He presided over the Seven Knights Villa and held the supreme sword in his hand. Even if she had the Murong Villa in the past, she would not dare to compare with him. He was quite open-minded. Well, let's not talk about these things. Your ice flame swordsmanship is good. Why don't you teach me? Sure. Muronging smiled. I haven't taught you martial arts for a long time. Don't be afraid of suffering. Well. Madam, how about going to the bed with me first? You're going to die. Watch the sword. Chapter 1375. After this is done, you must leave Huaxia. General Ran once again came to the Seven Knights Villa. The higher-ups have agreed to let you take everyone away and return to the Li family island. However, you must hand over the Shang Fang sword. Even if you return to Huaxia in the future, you must abide by Huaxia's laws. Moreover, the Li family island is a subsidiary of Huaxia. You cannot establish your own country. General Ran's series of conditions made Muronging a little restless. This was too shameless. Was he really trying to get rid of the donkey after it had outlived its usefulness? General Ran, isn't this too much? Muronging slammed the table and stood up. The aura of the martial arts alliance leader spread out again, making even the general feel some lingering fear. Li Fan has done so much for Huaxia, but now he and his family are going to be chased out? Villa Lord Murong, this is not my intention. General Ran smiled bitterly. How could he not want Li Fan to oversee Huaxia? However, even the Eagle faction could not occupy the entire capital. The Dove faction was so powerful. Even though they did not have much say now, they still had the support of the big shots. If the Eagle faction wanted to make decisions, they had to give the Dove faction some face. Moreover, Li Fan was indeed too powerful now. His Seven Knights Villa had many experts, all of whom were law enforcers. If they were not controlled well, they might become a terrible disaster. Huaxia had always advocated the doctrine of the mean since ancient times. Such unstable factors could not be allowed to remain. Expelling Li Fan was actually the best choice. The big shots behind the Dove faction even proposed to secretly execute Li Fan. This was simply ridiculous. They had been kicked in the head by a donkey. What right did they have to be so arrogant? What right did they have to decide? What utter foolishness. Unfortunately, in the face of these conflicts, a lowly general of an aristocratic family like him had no say. However, the Eagle faction had indeed done their best. Exiling Li Fan was the best outcome. Exile? Fine. Li Fan nodded as if all this was within his expectations. General Ran felt sad when he saw him like this. If this man hadn't appeared out of nowhere, they would have been trampled on by the grandsons of the United States Empire. How would they be qualified to sit here and discuss how to deal with the Demon Island? However, today, this hero was going to give up everything for the last bit of strength of China's rise. I'm sorry about this. General Ran picked up the teacup and said, "It's not convenient today. I'll use tea in place of wine to apologize to you. After this is over, I will personally go to the Li family island and drink to apologize." After saying that, General Ran drank the tea in one gulp. The taste of the tea was indeed good, and there was a warm feeling in his lower abdomen after drinking it. But now, he was not in the mood to taste tea. I appreciate General Ran's kindness. Li Fan cupped his hands. But forget about coming to Li family island. Your identity is special, and it's not convenient for you to leave China. Although the Li family island is also an inseparable part of China, it is still too sensitive. What are you afraid of? If I can't even make a decision on such a small matter, how can I be a fucking major general? General Ran was originally a straightforward person, but now he couldn't help but curse. Actually, I envy you. When you retire, you will be free, and you won't have to suffer in this place. The center of power was like a whirlpool. Once people were sucked in, they would be unable to stop. Ha, that's true. Come, I'll also use tea in place of wine to toast you. After saying that, Li Fan ordered Chun, go and find the dragon lady. Also, bring the Shang Fang sword. This is the antidote. General Ran also completed the task that Li Fan ordered. You can send the antidote to the people of the major sections. If you are too busy, I can send someone to help you. I can't make decisions on other things, but I can send someone to be a courier. Ha, thank you, Brother Ran. But don't worry, my people are already waiting in the vicinity of the major sections. Once the order is given, the antidote will naturally be delivered. You're really good at strategizing. You've already arranged everything properly. General Ran looked at Li Fan with admiration. It would be good if you were a real soldier. I would be willing to fight for you. Brother, what are you talking about? It's a peaceful time now. How can there be a war? Li Fan smiled. The game between the countries will only be played by people like us. I don't think that's necessarily true. Brother. Since you want to go to the Demon Island this time. Then, as your big brother, there is something that I have to tell you. He looked around. This was the Seven Knights Villa, Li Fan's place, so no one should leak the secret. General Ran lowered his voice and whispered in Li Fan's ear. I heard that, there is a true immortal secret art hidden on this Demon Island. Li Fan raised his eyebrows. True immortal secret art? What is that? I can only say this much. Brother, I hope we will have the opportunity to meet again in the future. With that, General Ran bade farewell to Li Fan and left the Seven Knights Villa with the Shang Fang sword that Chun gave him. As for Li Fan and Murong Ying, they returned to his room. True immortal secret art. What is this, the secret of becoming an immortal? Dragon Girl pushed the door open and walked in. You're here. I thought you left with him. Li Fan was a little surprised. Dragon Girl actually stayed behind? Why? Do you want to chase me away? Dragon Girl glared at Li Fan and then looked at Murong Ying. It seems that you don't care about me, your teacher, anymore now that you have someone you like. Ha, what are you talking about? But thinking that you are the teacher of the Shang Fang sword, what can they do if you stay here? I can't teach much. I just supervise the Shang Fang sword every time I wake up. Dragon Girl sat opposite Li Fan, tore open a bag of potato chips, and started eating snacks. Besides, everything here is delicious. Chiu-er's cooking is unique in the world. I won't leave. Foodie. Li Fan could only give such an evaluation. Let's talk about that true immortal secret art. Is it really the secret of becoming an immortal? True immortal secret art is just a legend. Dragon Girl shrugged. I heard that back then, the immortal Lu Dongbin, in order to enlighten the people of the world, descended to the mortal world and taught a Taoist a few pithy words. After that Taoist cultivated it, his martial arts actually reached the innate realm and became invincible in the world. I heard that he left behind these pithy words to his disciples before finally becoming an immortal. Are there really immortals? Li Fan raised his head and looked at the sky outside the window. Who knows? I heard that even Emperor Qin was looking for this true immortal secret art. So he sent people out to sea to search for it, but they never found it. If it is really on Demon Island, you can study it. But I still need to be alive to study it. Li Fan would not casually fantasize. Even if this immortal pithy words were good, he still needed to be alive to cultivate it. We are about to leave for Demon Island. Let me teach you one last thing. Dragon Girl seemed to have made a decision. Chapter 1376. Li Fan was a little surprised as he looked at Dragon Girl. Didn't you say that you have taught me everything? Dragon Girl's face turned red. That, teaching the disciple will starve the master. Didn't your wife's master also not teach you a move? Muronging immediately harumphed when she heard that she had been dragged into this. I am teaching based on merit. 5 Animal Frolics was indeed the best choice for Li Fan, who had no martial arts foundation at that time. Murong Ying's intention was for Li Fan to use 2 to 3 years to master 5 Animal Frolics and build a good martial arts foundation. Then, he would practice some advanced martial arts and progress step by step. But who would have thought that this kid took a different path and actually trained 5 Animal Frolics into the world-shocking 7-hero fist? Li Fan's potential was really limitless. He didn't know if that true immortal art was real or not. If it was real, it would have a magical use. This set of martial arts is actually a supplement to your moves. Dragon Girl looked at Li Fan. Your War Dragon Roar can only be used as a burst technique at the moment. Yes, War Dragon Roar is a kind of sound wave technique. At the critical moment, it can be used to send the enemy in front of you flying. Li Fan explained. This kind of sound wave technique is too stupid. You are simply wasting God's gift. Dragon Girl curled her lips. How can a real dragon roar be this kind of random roar? Then what is it like? Li Fan was a little unconvinced. His War Dragon roar was clearly very powerful. This roar was earth-shattering. Ordinary enemies would be sent flying and experts would have their blood flow reversed. Ha! Dragon Girl didn't answer and just let out a shout. Instantly, a sound wave exploded from her cherry mouth and swept through the entire pavilion. Li Fan and Muronging felt their scalps go numb and a chill ran down their spine. Dragon Aura. This was the power of a true dragon. Even its pressure was enough to make people feel uneasy. At the same time, the roar caused their ears to ring incessantly, and their vision to darken, as if they had fallen into a state of dizziness. However, both of them were top-notch experts. This state only lasted for less than a second before it was dispelled by their strength. However, it was enough to shock the two of them. For experts, even a second of dizziness was enough to do a lot of things. When experts exchanged blows, they couldn't afford to relax at all. This is amazing. Li Fan was already a guru, and he couldn't help but show the excitement that people of his age should have. He couldn't help but be excited. This dragon roar was simply a crowd control move. It was definitely a tactical skill. Even Muronging, who was watching from the side, could not help but be moved. This move was truly too terrifying. Originally, you wouldn't be able to learn this move. The dragon lady looked at their reactions and felt a little proud of herself. However, you had a fortuitous encounter and ate a dragon, so your body has some dragon might. In this case, you can learn this move. These words made Li Fan mutter in his heart. If that was the case, wouldn't I be the only one who could learn it? I can't pass it on to Jiang Yi, Xiao Hu, and the others. These two little fellows had already gone out to train. Li Fan wanted to pass on some martial arts to them, but the master had already taught them, and the cultivation was up to them. As for how much progress they could make in the future, it still depended on their own hard work. Demon Island is a scary place. The dragon lady's small face was originally filled with pride, but when she thought of Demon Island, a trace of fear appeared. I've only heard of it, but I've never been there. Even if I was nearby, I probably wouldn't dare to go in. Even if it's a dragon's pool and tiger's den, I still have to go in. Li Fan glanced at Murong. If you really can't do it, you can stay in China. Hearing that even the fearless dragon lady was so afraid, Li Fan slightly regretted his decision to bring Murong on board. Looking down on me. Murong hated this the most. She snorted. Dragon's pool and tiger's den, you can go, but I can't. All right then, let's go together. The moment Li Fan said it, he regretted it. He understood Murong Ying's character. His words seemed to be provoking her to make a move. Li Fan wanted to explain, but he held it back. Since things had come to this, explaining was useless. If Murong understood him, she would naturally understand his intention. In short, I have to go. Murong naturally understood Li Fan. Her tone softened. After all, we have an agreement. For this month, I will be your hired thug and share the same hatred with you. Good. Hearing this, Li Fan became more confident. With two saint-level experts, Li Fan didn't believe that they couldn't get rid of a mere demon. Saint rank. In this world, saint rank was the pinnacle of existence. With two saint-level experts, whatever demon, even its mother wouldn't be able to recognize it. In the past, the four sacred beasts were only at the saint level. 4 of them could seal the demon, but now they only had half of their strength. Li Fan believed that with his and Murong Ying's supreme fighting skills, they could also do it. I'm definitely going to learn this war dragon roar. Li Fan thought for a while and decided to add some chips to their battle. Just now, before General Ran left, he had told him that there was still a week to prepare before leaving Demon Island. In this week, he and Murong wanted to increase their strength to 4 saint-level experts. You want to increase your strength? Murong understood Li Fan the most. With just a glance at Li Fan's expression, she understood his thoughts. Yes, in the past, the demon on the island was sealed by the 4 sacred beasts. Basically, it was the strength of 4 saint-level experts. With the 2 of us added together, we were almost there. Therefore, we have to increase our strength. Impossible. Murong shook her head. The saint level is already at the peak. Even your external incarnation only has the strength of a half-saint. Moreover, it's a pipe dream to increase our inner strength by 1-fold in just 7 days. It's impossible for the 2 of us to increase our strength by 1-fold alone. Li Fan smiled confidently. But if you and I join hands, it's possible. Not only will we have the strength of 4 saints, but we might even be stronger. You mean, Murong was smart. She immediately understood what was going on. That's right, sword formation. Li Fan laughed. You should have seen the sword formation of my 4 sword servants. It's quite powerful, isn't it? However, we can't form a sword formation with just the 2 of us. But a set of twin swords combination is still possible. Li Fan emphasized on twin swords combination, causing Murong to roll her eyes. Right now, are there any suitable sword arts for the 2 of us to practice the dual sword harmony? Why not? There is. Li Fan was full of confidence. Whose? Where can I learn it? Yours. I'll learn it from you. Chapter 1377. Muronging knew that Li Fan always liked to take a different path, but she didn't expect that he would put his idea on her. Nonsense, how could I have any double? Murong Ying's pair of beautiful eyes suddenly flashed with splendor. You mean, yes, your ice flame sword art. Li Fan nodded, I just need to improve it a little, and it will be a good set of joint attack sword art. Can you really do it? And, I practice the mysterious dragon ice palm, and you practice the flame palm, which just meets the requirements of your sword art. Li Fan had already thought about it, I already have an idea. Within 7 days, it is enough to practice this sword art. But, between the two of us, who will we use to test the sword art? Muronging asked, if we want to test the power of this sword art, we need at least an opponent above the saint level, right? Ah, there is. Li Fan clapped his hands, let's invite Imperial Concubine Zhou. A beauty with black hair and white clothes slowly walked in from the outside. Such a beauty was a character in the human world. She wore a simple plain white dress, but it couldn't hide her graceful figure. That graceful curve was tempting to commit a crime. Even the most decent gentleman would probably not be able to help but palpitate at this moment. After such a beauty came in, she didn't forget to give Li Fan a supercilious look. Everything is fine, but you come to make fun of me again. Immortal evil Buddha, seeing this woman, Muronging slightly raised her crescent eyebrows. Imperial concubine Zhou's eyes also fell on her. The two women's eyes collided in midair, and they both saw a hint of provocation in each other's eyes. They were both heaven's proud daughters and martial arts geniuses, how could they not be hostile to each other? At such a young age, you have already practiced to this level, you are indeed a talent. Imperial concubine Zhou had the demeanor of a queen, and her momentum was superior. Her words were also condescending, as if she was judging a junior. I can't be compared to senior, but your evil skill has reached the heavens. Muronging coldly snorted. It was obvious that she was somewhat unhappy with Imperial concubine Zhou's tone. Both of you are saint-level experts. Don't be so hostile the moment you meet. Li Fan broke out in a cold sweat. As for Dragon Girl, she smiled faintly as she ate her snacks and watched the show. Since you have such a helper, why did you invite me? Murong Ying's voice grew colder. If I could leave China, I wouldn't need your help. Imperial concubine Zhou flung her long sleeves, and her tone seemed to be somewhat disdainful. Senior, do you think you're stronger than me? Why don't we spar? You too, enough. Li Fan couldn't help but roar. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an invisible pressure, causing the two women to tremble at the same time, their ears ringing. The dragon lady could not help but nod. Li Fan had learned most of her dragon roar. However, he used such a powerful technique to intimidate his harem. It was a bit of a waste. If the other elders of the dragon clan knew about this, they would crawl out of the dragon tomb in anger. In front of a great enemy, you're still fighting among yourselves. No wonder you're always being bullied by those barbarians. After being scolded by Li Fan, the two women's faces turned red. Although they felt a bit embarrassed, they obediently sat at the side and did not say a word. Wife, Imperial concubine Zhou practiced this technique and recently broke through to the saint level. There are still some flaws in her technique. After mastering it, she will take care of the dragon veins of China. Before mastering it, she can't leave China. Otherwise, her strength will regress. What kind of evil technique is this? It's actually so evil. Muronging snorted. Imperial concubine Zhou slightly frowned, but after glancing at Li Fan, she endured it. In any case, she was a senior in Jianghu. Why should she make life difficult for a rising star? Alright, that's enough. Aren't we currently studying the harmonious dual swords? Imperial concubine Zhou has just broken through to the saint level, so she's our best touchstone. This consort has fallen into becoming a live target. I will naturally compensate you. Li Fan dryly coughed twice. Making Imperial concubine Zhou a live target was indeed a bit unfair to her. Forget about the compensation. This consort only has one request. She really had a request. Li Fan cupped his hands. What request does Imperial Concubine Zhou have? This one will certainly satisfy it. You're teasing me again. Imperial Concubine Zhou stretched out her slender jade-like hand from her sleeve and lightly knocked on Li Fan's forehead. This consort doesn't have any other request. I just want to be pregnant with your child. This sentence stunned Li Fan and Murong Ying. What's there to be surprised about? You're the master of this manor, and in the future, you'll be the master of the island. Naturally, you have to give birth to an heir and carry on the family line. Imperial Concubine Zhou very seriously said, this consort will help you conceive a child first. That child will be the first heir. Although she was resurrected in the modern era and rebelled in the Ming dynasty, she still had some traditional thoughts in her bones. In these 7 days, you should properly give birth to a child with your imperial concubine. Murong Ying was really jealous. She turned around and was about to leave. Alright, stop messing around. You should hurry up and practice your sword. Li Fan grabbed Murong Ying. With Murong Ying's strength, it wouldn't be easy for Li Fan to grab her. But now that he grabbed her, it meant that Murong Ying's heart was still struggling. At this moment, it was better to pacify this woman first. As for Imperial Concubine Zhou, although she was a bit impetuous today, she could still be considered to be sensible. As for the matter of having a child, I still don't have any ideas. How old am I? Moreover, training 2 apprentices is already enough for me to worry about. Li Fan turned to Imperial Concubine Zhou and said, moreover, the most urgent matter is to solve the Devil Islands matter first. Surviving is the most important thing. You're right. Imperial Concubine Zhou nodded, then the 2 of you can practice. This consort will help you. Today, Imperial Concubine Zhou spoke as the mistress of the house, making Li Fan helpless. Although Murong Ying was unhappy, there was nothing she could do. The position of mistress was originally hers, but she gave it up and retreated to guard the Murong villa. Villa Lord. Wang Xiaoran walked to the door. It seemed that she had something to ask Li Fan. Wait a moment. I have something to tell Xiaoran. When Li Fan walked to the door, Wang Xiaoran condensed her voice into a line and transmitted it to his ears. Master, after 7 days, let's forget about this matter. Li Fan shook his head, in the end, it's against heaven's will. Alright, everything will be according to Villa Lord. Seeing that Li Fan was still soft-hearted, Wang Xiaoran bowed to Li Fan and retreated. After Jiang Yi and Xiao Hu left, Wang Xiaoran, as the sword guard captain, became Li Fan's biggest confidant. She turned around and left Li Fan's house. After passing through the corridor, she saw a familiar figure. Chapter 1378. Is he regretting it? Lu Zhu stood in front of Wang Xiaoran with his arms crossed in front of his chest and a blade of grass in his mouth. He looked like an unrestrained handsome playboy looking at Wang Xiaoran. Wang Xiaoran nodded. She was always a bit afraid of Lu Zhu. He is too soft-hearted, but those who want to achieve great things don't care about trifles. Lu Zhu said coldly without any emotion in his eyes, Murong Ying is a top expert and must be won over for the villa. Since the villa master is benevolent, let me do this dirty work for him. Wang Xiaoran was a bit hesitant. Lu Zhu gently put his hand on her shoulder. Xiaoran, don't forget that we are all the villa master's people. Everything is for the villa master's benefit. Yes, I know. Wang Xiaoran's eyes became firm. When the villa master leaves, I will bring the 12 sword guards to handle this matter. No, we can't use the 7 hero sword guards. Lu Zhu rejected Wang Xiaoran's proposal. The sword guards are the bodyguards of the villa. How can we do this kind of dirty work? Moreover, if the villa master finds out, both of us will be finished. Then. It's okay, leave it to me. Lu Zhu told Wang Xiaoran, you just need to keep your mouth shut. If the villa master asks you in the future, just say you don't know. Okay. Lu Zhu said goodbye to Wang Xiaoran and walked through the corridors of the villa. Finally, he entered a secret passage from a rockery and came to a hidden cave in the back of the mountain. In front of the cave, a handsome man was waving a huge sword. He didn't have any skills and was just practicing a normal move. But Lu Zhu didn't dare to look down on this man. As the saying goes, one move is enough to conquer the world. If he can practice this move to perfection, he would be a grandmaster. Elder Chen, your Huashan sword technique is getting more and more powerful. Lu Zhu couldn't help but praise, I think it won't be long before you can see through the sword path and enter the semi-sage realm. Not at all, I'm still far from it. When Qin Junhua saw Lu Zhu, he put down his sword and said unhurriedly, without a great opportunity, it's really difficult to enter the half-sage realm. How could that be? It's naturally very difficult for ordinary people to enter the half-step sage realm, but our villa's people all cultivate essence. As long as you cultivate it to a certain level, you'll be able to see through the threshold of the Grandmaster realm and step into the half-saint realm. If he cultivated his Jinqi, it would be very difficult for him to break through from Grandmaster to half-saint. However, one could smoothly enter the Xian Tian realm and attain the strength of the semi-sage realm if they cultivated the vital qi or the yin and yang qi. Back then, Li Fan, Murong, Bo, and Jiang Feng had all relied on this method to break through. Even Muronging had to rely on Li Fan to transfer a large amount of primordial qi into her body to cleanse her marrows and bones before she successfully entered the semi-sage realm. That's true. Our sect's vital energy is truly powerful. There's actually a trace of the natural Tao within it. As Qin Junhua spoke, he couldn't help but feel a little excited. The villa master who was able to research this essence qi is also a godly person. Qin Junhua was very glad that he had followed Li Fan. However, he was also very regretful that the other disciples of Mount Hua didn't have this fortune. They didn't even have the qualifications to practice martial arts. You don't need to blame yourself. The villa master has already reached an agreement with the government to lift the ban on martial arts. The fate-reversing pill has probably already been sent to the hands of the major sections. Mount Hua naturally has a share. Lu Zhu delivered a piece of good news to Qin Junhua. Really? Qin Junhua was overjoyed. He subconsciously stepped forward and reached out to grab Lu Zhu's shoulder. However, Lu Zhu quietly avoided him. However, Qin Junhua was so happy that he couldn't care less about this. That's great. As expected of the villa master. What's there to be happy about? Lu Zhu coldly snorted. For this, the villa master will leave China forever and retreat to the Li family island. Our 7 Knights villa will undoubtedly move there. Qin Junhua was stunned for a moment. There's such a thing. What? You don't want to leave with the villa master? Lu Zhu looked at Qin Junhua with some ridicule. Then you can go back to Mount Hua now. With your current cultivation, you might be able to compete for the position of the sect master. What are you saying? Qin Junhua was a little annoyed. Didn't you and I make an agreement to be the villa master's sword? Good, it's good to hear that. Lu Zhu's expression became serious. Now, there's only one thing that requires us to unsheath this sword. Wonderful. Seeing Li Fan and Muronging unsheath their swords at the same time, even the undying evil Buddha couldn't help but praise them. This consort didn't expect that this sword technique could actually have such power. Seeing Li Fan and Muronging display this set of sword technique, Imperial concubine Zhou's beautiful eyes continuously burst out with splendor. The two of you, one dragon and one wind, actually make this consort a little jealous. Imperial concubine Zhou's words made Li Fan a little embarrassed. It's still Murong Ying's sword technique that's brilliant. Li Fan quickly flattered his wife without batting an eyelid. This set of ice flame sword technique has given me a lot of inspiration. In the world of martial arts, only speed is unbeatable. Imperial concubine Zhou commented, this sword technique of yours has displayed this method to the limit. That move of dragon and phoenix bringing prosperity. This consort actually can't think of a way to resolve it. Unfortunately, time is short, I can only think of these 3 sword techniques. Holding the spring wave sword, Li Fan was a little regretful. These 3 moves are all masterpieces, what are you still unsatisfied with? Imperial concubine Zhou rolled her eyes at Li Fan, however, your sword technique still has some flaws. Impossible. Muronging had just put the autumn water sword back into the sheath. Hearing this, she was somewhat dissatisfied. Since childhood, she had been proficient in the way of the sword and could be said to be a master swordsman. Just now, she and Li Fan's combination of swords was incomparably exquisite, how could there be any flaws? Oh. You don't believe me? Imperial concubine Zhou laughed, this set of sword technique of yours only has power, but the flaws are enough to be fatal. Nonsense. Don't think that just because you've practiced a few more years of sword technique, you can casually evaluate it. Muronging unconvinced looked at Imperial concubine Zhou, under our dragon and phoenix yin-yang sword technique, you won't even be able to withstand one move. Although there were only 3 moves in the dragon and phoenix yin-yang sword technique, each move had several hundred variations. Even after practicing it, Muronging admired Li Fan endlessly. This imperial concubine Zhou was actually nitpicking and nitpicking. Truly preposterous. You don't believe me? Imperial concubine Zhou smiled and stretched out her hand. The sword on Chun-Er's back immediately flew out and fell into her slender jade hand. Holding this sword, she evilly pointed it at Muronging, if you're not convinced, then you too can attack me. Li Fan was also a little puzzled. His dragon and phoenix yin-yang sword technique could be said to be able to display the strength of these 2 people to the greatest extent. Not to mention 1 saint-level expert, even if there were 4 saint-level experts, Li Fan still had the confidence to take them down. But why was Imperial concubine Zhou so certain? Chapter 1379. Imperial concubine Zhou just stood there, seemingly holding a sword very casually, as if she didn't want to compete, but just wanted to play around. However, Li Fan and Muronging acted as if they were facing a formidable enemy. Both of them held their swords at the same time and launched their joint attack. Li Fan pulled out his spring wave sword and pointed it at Imperial concubine Zhou. Muronging also held her autumn water sword, flipped over, and lightly landed on top of Li Fan's head. She stepped on his shoulder with 1 foot and lifted her other foot in the air. At the same time, Li Fan's sword exuded a dense cold air, while Muronging's sword was burning hot red. 1 ice and 1 fire, dancing like a dragon and a phoenix. The strength of these 2 people was obvious. Once 2 top-notch martial saints joined hands, it was already very frightening. Moreover, the 2 of them had cultivated the yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword art, which had doubled their strength. Li Fan believed that even if he faced Liao Ju, he could easily defeat him. Not to mention Imperial concubine Zhou, who had just entered the martial saint level. Come. Imperial concubine Zhou didn't say it out loud. She just smiled and invited them to fight. Undying evil Buddha, watch my sword. Muronging was a little impatient. She and Li Fan had painstakingly practiced swordsmanship, how could she lose to this woman? She lightly stepped on the ground and immediately flew towards Imperial concubine Zhou. At that moment, Li Fan also moved. The 2 of them simultaneously turned into sword shadows, 1 white and 1 red, 1 up and 1 down, 1 left and 1 right, and instantly arrived in front of Imperial concubine Zhou. In the world of martial arts, only speed was unbeatable. Li Fan had softened Muronging's swordsmanship with the azure dragon water touch of the dragon subduing sword technique. What he pursued was extreme speed. Both of their figures appeared beside Imperial concubine Zhou like lightning. Yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique, swimming dragon and phoenix, 100% power. It was just a competition of moves, so the 2 of them didn't use their full strength. However, both of their swordplay contained the will of the heavens. With 2 swords, they blocked all of Imperial concubine Zhou's escape routes. Behind Li Fan and Muronging, the silhouette of a dragon and a phoenix appeared. This was the manifestation of their auras. Even the dragon lady could not help but secretly nod when she saw the dragon phoenix portrait. Whoosh! The two swords emitted the same piercing sound. However, Imperial concubine Zhou smiled sweetly. She actually used her own body to forcefully take on Murong Ying's sword. Then, the long sword in her hand blocked Li Fan's spring wave sword, and the tip of the sword instantly rested on his neck. Murong Ying was shocked. She subconsciously wanted to pull back her sword to save Li Fan. However, Imperial concubine Zhou's body was like a black hole. It actually sucked in Murong Ying's autumn water sword. Murong Ying couldn't pull it out and couldn't use the power of the yin-yang sword of dragon and phoenix. Defeated in one move. Li Fan's eyes dimmed. The yin-yang sword of dragon and phoenix that he created with his own imagination couldn't even last one move in the hands of Imperial concubine Zhou? Imperial concubine Zhou took a step back and dispersed her power, allowing Murong Ying's sword to be pulled out from her vital point. Imperial concubine Zhou practiced the undying evil technique. This sword strike was fatal to ordinary people, but to her, it wasn't a big deal. Even if this woman's head was chopped off, she could still use the materialization technique to condense it again. Without this kind of strength, how could she be called the undying evil Buddha? Actually, this set of swordplay of the two of you is indeed powerful. If you perform well, even if there were 4 of us standing here, they still wouldn't be your opponent. Imperial concubine Zhou's swordplay and knowledge had already convinced Murong Ying. Then what's the problem? Li Fan asked. The problem lies in the fact that you only have the swordplay, but you don't have the sword intent. Imperial concubine Zhou bluntly said, the yin-yang sword of dragon and phoenix, as the name suggests, is interlinked. Like a dragon playing with a phoenix, it can display the greatest effect. But the two of you, although you are husband and wife, you sleep in the same bed but dream different dreams. There is no tacit understanding to speak of. In this way, how can you display the effect of this swordplay? Li Fan and Murong Ying were silent. Imperial concubine Zhou really hit the nail on the head. She instantly pointed out the weakness between the two of them. But there was no other way. The two of them had been estranged for a long time. At this time, they reluctantly got together just to suppress the devil. If they succeeded in the future, it was inevitable that they would part ways and wander the Jianghu. There are still 6 days left. The two of you should properly comprehend the sword intent. Imperial concubine Zhou reminded them, if you really have mutual affection, then let alone the 4 saints, even if it's the 5 saints, they will still be a ghost under your sword. She returned the sword to Chun, turned around, and walked out the door. After 6 days, come find me again to test your swordplay. Watching Imperial concubine Zhou leave, Li Fan couldn't help but mutter. This Imperial concubine Zhou is really a martial arts master. My wife, what do you think? What do you think? Practice swordplay. Murong Ying grabbed Li Fan, and the two of them concentrated on practicing swordplay for a few days. Both of them were top-notch experts, and their talents were outstanding. This set of swordplay only took 3 to 4 days to reach the point of perfection. Every move was skillful and pure. Chun, what do you think? After 6 days, Li Fan ate his carefully prepared lunch and asked Chun, who had been watching them. This, husband, Chun-er's understanding of martial arts is not as comprehensive as Dong-er's. However, Chun-er and her sisters have been practicing swordplay since they were young. Although they can't be said to be proficient, they have some experience. Alright, I know you want to complain. Say it. Li Fan saw through Chun-er's thoughts, so he waved his hand and told her to let go. In terms of swordplay, the two of you are indeed worthy of being called masters. If you compare swordplay alone, an ordinary martial saint should not be a match for the two of you. But what? Why are you still hesitating? Say it, I won't blame you. Li Fan encouraged Chun-er, and Murong Ying also spoke, which was rare for her. Practicing martial arts is like rowing a boat against the current. If you have any mistakes, just say it. Chun-er thinks that Imperial concubine Zhou's words make sense. Although the two of you have exquisite and unique swordplay, this swordplay is still lacking something. Is it really like that? Li Fan seemed a little unhappy. Chun immediately lowered her head, not daring to say another word. Why are you giving me that look? Even I don't want to say it. Murong was more open-minded. She glared at Li Fan and pulled Chun-er's hand. Say it, is there something wrong with the two of us? Chun nodded. The four of us sisters are born from the same mother. Our hearts are connected, so we can unleash the Four Emblems sword formation to its fullest. However, the Four Emblems sword formation of the 7 hero sword guards can only unleash half of its power. This is the difference. Sigh. Li Fan looked at Murong. Wife, why don't we stop practicing tonight and consummate our marriage first? You're courting death. Murong-ying's face turned red. She glared at Li Fan angrily. If you speak nonsense again, I'll cut off your tongue. Chapter 1380. In order to practice this set of sword technique, Murong and Li Fan entered the bridal chamber. However, even though they had entered the bridal chamber, their clothes were still on. The two of them sat on the bed and looked at each other awkwardly. Murong sat in front of Li Fan. Her peerless beauty made Li Fan a little restless and unable to control himself. In this world, it was rare to see a woman more beautiful than Murong. Such a beautiful woman made it difficult for Li Fan to have any evil thoughts. Especially in the past when they were in South Korea, Li Fan accompanied her day and night. Sometimes, Li Fan even felt that the relationship between him and Murong seemed to be more familial than romantic. To Li Fan, Murong was both a teacher and a friend. When he first met her, he felt that she was an unreachable goddess. After a long time, he was able to stand on equal footing with her, but the distance between the two of them had widened instead. At this moment, Murong was so close to him that Li Fan could even smell the fragrance of Murong-ying's freshly washed hair. This woman smelled good too. It was similar to the smell of Murong's love, but there was an additional sense of coldness. Although Li Fan was considered an old hand in this aspect, he was a little shy when he saw Murong. Li Fan held it in for a long time before he squeezed out a sentence. Will you take responsibility? Pfft. Murong was also amused by Li Fan's words. He actually wants me to take responsibility. This little bastard must have it all wrong. We are husband and wife, and this time, it is also for the sake of practicing the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword. Murong said frankly, I have thought it through. Since we can't be together in the future, I might as well be pregnant with your child. I have even thought of the child's name. It will be Murong the Invincible. Li Fan couldn't help but roll his eyes. Why don't you call him Invincible East? Not good, inauspicious. Why is she called Murong the Invincible? If a girl has this name, it sounds so bad. I hope it's a boy. Being a girl is too hard. How can a girl suffer? My daughter must be living like a little princess. If it's a girl, not only would she have to shoulder the responsibility of such a large family, she would also be easily tricked by a boy like you. What do you mean by that? A simple, honest, and kind-hearted young man like me is hard to find nowadays. Glib tongue. Murong chuckled with her hand covering her mouth. The charm of that chuckle made Li Fan's heart blossom. This woman's charm was too terrifying. Also, why is her surname Murong? His surname is Li. I'm pregnant with the child, so I have the final say. I sowed the seeds. Go to hell, Murong rolled her eyes at Li Fan. My surname is Li. It absolutely cannot be changed. This is a matter of principle. Then I'll sleep alone. Goodbye. Aya, we're already in the modern society. How can we be so feudal and inflexible? Li Fan laughed, it doesn't matter what the surname is. As long as the child is cute. My wife, look, it's late. Why don't we rest early? Humph, Murong snorted and turned her head away. But her face was red to her neck. Even if she was the leader of the martial arts world, she would inevitably be shy at this time. Good wife, let me help you undress. Li Fan stretched out his hand and gently placed it on Murong Ying's back. He pulled the zipper of the cheongsam. As long as he pulled it down, the best side of Murong Ying would be revealed in front of him. Thinking of this, Li Fan couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Murong Ying's body trembled slightly. She didn't seem to have any intention to stop Li Fan. The two of them didn't have much time left. She would just give herself to him. It could be considered as putting an end to the ill-fated relationship between the two of them. This way, she wouldn't feel that she owed him anything. Just when Li Fan was about to make his move, the sound of gongs and drums could be heard from outside. What's going on? Murong Ying looked out of the window. Don't care about them. Someone will handle it. The sound of gongs and drums became louder. Quickly go and take a look. Murong Ying seemed to be a little worried as she urged. Damn it, I'm going to kill someone. Li Fan was infuriated. What were these fellows messing around again? He charged out aggressively. It was a mess outside. What's going on? Li Fan asked loudly. Vil ahead, this is bad. The people from Yijian Hall are fighting with the people from Whistling West Wind. A disciple hurriedly reported to Li Fan. They're fighting. Li Fan felt a headache. These two groups of people still couldn't suppress their anger. Of all the times to do it, it just had to be on his wedding night. If they want to fight, then fight. Why are they beating the gongs and drums? Li Fan stared at him and asked. The guests in the manor are beating the gongs to liven things up. This bunch of idiots, Li Fan was speechless. Fighting was wrong, yet they were beating the gongs to liven things up. It seemed like the moment the ban on fighting was lifted, these martial artists who had been holding back couldn't help but become restless. Vil ahead, you see, forget it, I'll go and take a look. After all, this was a matter of the manor. Li Fan still decided to go and take a look first. The ban on fighting had been lifted. Logically speaking, Whistling West Wind and the people from Yijian Hall should have left the manor. Why didn't the two groups of people leave? Instead, they were fighting. Li Fan walked all the way to the front courtyard. Sure enough, the people from Yijian Hall were all gathered together. Each of them was glaring at each other with hostility, as if they couldn't wait to fight with each other naked. As for the guests who hadn't left the manor, they were watching the show from the side, beating the gongs and drums happily. Li Fan was speechless. Everywhere he went, there would be people who loved to join in the fun. They were just a bunch of people who didn't mind the matter getting bigger. Fatty Long, you must give us an explanation for today's matter. Jean Jiuma looked at Long Fangyu angrily. The little girl seemed to be very angry and was gnashing her teeth. This was originally a misunderstanding. What is there to explain? Ling Yu stood beside Long Fangyu. Long Fangyu didn't say anything, but this little girl was defending her alliance leader. Yijian Hall, don't go too far. You're making a false accusation. Jean Jiuma clenched his fists. Luo Xuewu stood behind with a cold expression. No one knew what she was thinking. Alliance leader Long, after going through so much, I feel that we should still be friends. We should work together against a common enemy. Knight Rain Tower sat in a wheelchair. He was pushed to the front and cupped his hands towards Long Fangyu. The hero's token is our alliance leader's keepsake. Please return it. An honest person doesn't do underhanded things. Long Fangyu seemed to have seen Li Fan. He took a deep breath and said unhurriedly, that's right. This hero's token is indeed with me. Li Fan was a little puzzled. What is this hero's token? Are you a bunch of bastards going to interrupt my nuptial chamber just for this thing? Chapter 1381. Did I disturb you? Seeing Li Fan standing beside her, Luo Xuewu seemed a little embarrassed. She lowered her head and apologized to Li Fan, I'm sorry, don't be so polite. I didn't sleep anyway. Looking at Luo Xuewu, this icy beauty, Li Fan's anger subsided a bit. Now that she was speaking to him in a low voice, Li Fan couldn't blame her. He could only grit his teeth and swallow his tears of blood. What's wrong with you guys? Why are you quarreling all of a sudden? Long Fangyu took our hero's token. Speaking of this, Luo Xuewu was a little annoyed. We asked him for it. What is a hero's order? That's the token of the World Alliance's Alliance Master, Lu Jinchan. With that token, he can command the heroes of the World Alliance. Luo Xuewu said. After Alliance Master Lu perished, this hero's insignia has always been with us, Shao Qingfeng, for safekeeping. Now that the martial prohibition order has been lifted, Long Fangyu wants to use this hero's medallion to once again rally the experts of the World Alliance that have retired, and restore the riding horse whistling west wind to its former glory. Fatty Dragon, this person is really ambitious. Li Fan smiled. I knew it. This small place of mine can't accommodate him. As you all know, the pugilistic world has just experienced a catastrophe. When Long Fangyu opened his mouth, the surrounding noise also quieted down. It seemed like everyone wanted to hear what this fatty had to say. Long Fangyu stood there and cupped his hands towards Li Fan. Fortunately, we have Villa Master Li's protection, allowing us to survive. However, this calamity came with great momentum, and our 4 alliances were pretty much wiped out. Think about how glorious our World Alliance was when Alliance Master Lu was still around. Looking at the present, he couldn't help but sigh, feeling that he had let down his ancestors. That was why he came up with such a plan to obtain the hero's token. I don't seek wealth and glory. I only wish to rebuild the Heaven Alliance and restore its former glory. Alliance Master Long is right. Night Rain Tower was neither servile nor overbearing as he chuckled and said, we naturally congratulate you for establishing the Heaven Alliance. But he shouldn't have taken our hero's token, right? Brothers of Yijian, you have already left the 4 great alliances and voluntarily joined the 7 Chivalry Mountain Villa, becoming a hall of the villa. In that case, the hero's medallion would be useless in your hall. Who said we're useless? Could it be that you all wish to leave the manor? Long Fangyu intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Li Fan. My friends from the Sword Hall, the manor has treated you well in the past. Now that the manor has lost its power, you can't be thinking of abandoning Villa Master Li and leaving, right? The Jianghu was the Jianghu. Riding a horse was riding a horse. This method of gathering information was top-notch. Li Fan's 7 Knights Villa had lost the support of the government and was on the verge of collapse. Besides, they had to move to Li Clan Island, which meant that they would be far away from the martial artists in the Chinese plains. To these martial artists who wanted to fight for supremacy in the Chinese plains, it was only natural that they would no longer be able to get close to them. Whether or not I, Yijian, want to leave the 7 Knights Villa is a matter between me and Villa Master Li, Luo Xuewu said lightly. It's not up to Alliance Master Long to worry, right? I can't not worry. Long Fangyu sighed. If I had listened to my advice back then and the 4 great alliances united, how would it have ended up like this? The 4 great alliances are only second-rate in the pugilistic world. Luo Xuewu was frank. Even if we united, what can we do? Think about Wudong, Shaolin, 1,000-year-old aristocratic families, didn't they also decline in this calamity? It is precisely because of this that we have to unite to prevent the tragedy from happening again. Long Fangyu was uncharacteristically insistent on his words. Only with great power can we stand firm in this world. Nonsense. Luo Xuewu refuted, but Long Fangyu chuckled and his gaze landed on Li Fan. I think that among these people, others might not understand, but Villa Master Li, you definitely agree with me. Everyone immediately looked at Li Fan. In the past, these hanger-ons would look at Li Fan with reverence and worship. But today, they were a little distant. Without the martial arts prohibition, they naturally did not need to rely on Li Fan to survive. Especially since Li Fan had offended the government, he had to obediently scram overseas. How could he have the qualifications to meddle in the affairs of the Central Plains? In the face of disaster, they all flew away. Why would they care about Li Fan's current life or death? Although Long Fangyu was a little excessive, he also said what everyone was thinking. With the martial arts prohibition lifted, it was time to compete in the pugilistic world again. The strong were respected, this was the rule of the pugilistic world. That's right. Li Fan also nodded, seemingly agreeing with Long Fangyu's words. But where was this wrong? It was because of this power that Li Fan could protect the last meridian of the pugilistic world with the Seven Knights Villa. If his strength was ordinary, how could General Ran and the others support him to become a hero? Hearing that even Li Fan agreed, Long Fangyu's eyes were a little proud. Jin Jioma and the others were a little unhappy. This Li Fan, why was he speaking to Fatty Long? Could it be that he wanted to build a relationship with Li Fan? But, this is a different matter. It is true that the strong are respected, but you should not forcefully seize from the hands of others. Alliance Master Long, you are my guest, and Alliance Master Luo is my brother. I respect you, but I can't watch you snatch my brother's things. Li Fan kept calling him brother, causing Luo Xuewu to be a little annoyed. This guy was too hateful. So, Villa Master Li wants to stand up for Yi Jian? Long Fangyu smiled. I heard that Villa Master Li used to be one of Yi Jian's protectors. Although you have left Yi Jian, you are still willing to protect them. I, Long, really admire you. But, Long, to be honest, you have to see if the other party appreciates your kind intentions. According to what I know, Yi Jian has already planned to leave your hall and return to their snow mountain. Is that so? Li Fan glanced at Luo Xuewu. The latter lightly turned her head away, not daring to look at Li Fan's eyes. Long Fangyu laughed in his heart. This time, he must drag Yi Jian down with him. Although Li Fan has lost power, his personal strength is still there. Who would dare to look down on a sacred rank expert? But, I heard that Alliance Master Lu left behind a secret room back then. As long as one has a hero's token, they can open that secret room. Not to mention commanding the retired experts of World Alliance, they can also obtain some gifts from Alliance Master Lu. At that time, Xiao Shifeng will truly become powerful. He will no longer need to rely on someone else's wings and be submissive. Villa Master Li, you have helped me before, Long Fangyu naturally has to repay your kindness. Although I have some friendship with Alliance Master Luo, what she did this time is indeed adding insult to injury. This Long Fangyu, really can't stand it. For a moment, Luo Xuewu, Knight Rain Tower, and the others were somewhat restless. Will this infuriate Li Fan? Long Fangyu, this bastard actually exposed their plan in advance. He really deserves to die. What will Li Fan do? Chapter 1382. However, Li Fan just stood there with his arms crossed and didn't make a sound. It was as if he already knew all of this. Luo Xuewu observed Li Fan's expression many times and realized that he didn't have any emotions, which made her even more nervous. She had no choice but to leave Li Fan and Seven Chivalry Villa. Seven Chivalry Villa was about to move overseas, but Yi Jian had to return to Snow Mountain. After the ban on martial arts was lifted, Yi Jian had to continue to develop and become a great alliance that could rival the Heaven Alliance. Yi Jian didn't belong to him, but to the hundreds of brothers in the alliance. However, Long Fangyu was too hateful. He exposed this matter in advance and even took away the hero's token. This way, Yi Jian was in a passive position. Alliance Master Long, thank you for thinking of me. Under everyone's gaze, Li Fan finally spoke. However, Yi Jian leaving Seven Chivalry Villa is something that Alliance Master Luo and I have already discussed. Our Seven Chivalry Villa is moving to an island, so we naturally can't leave no influence in the Central Plains. Li Fan's words stunned everyone. Long Fangyu furrowed his brows. Did he make a wrong move? Judging from Luo Xuewu's expression, she clearly didn't tell Li Fan about this. However, he didn't expect that Li Fan was willing to cover for Luo Xuewu. He had underestimated the bond between the two of them. This wasn't good. So, Alliance Master Long, please hand over the hero's token. Li Fan continued, Yi Jian hasn't left yet and is a hall under my banner. That hero's token belongs to 7 Chivalry Villa. Isn't it inappropriate for you to take something that belongs to 7 Chivalry Villa? Villa Master Li. Are you going to stand up for Yi Jian? Long Fengyu's eyebrows trembled. Things had already exceeded his expectations. Long Fengyu was thinking of a plan to deal with it. We're all martial artists, so I don't want to be too extreme. Li Fan's voice became colder. 12 7 Chivalry sword guards stood beside him with their hands on the hilts of their swords. The expressions of Ling Yu and the others turned serious as if they were facing a great enemy. They all gathered their innate qi and prepared to attack. Every single one of the Whistling West Wind's men were wholeheartedly protecting their master. They were worried that Long Fengyu would be in danger. We naturally know that the 7 Knights Villa is powerful and powerful. Long Fengyu took a step back in order to advance. Since you want to take the lead, we can't defeat you. This hero's token can only be handed over to you. However, the 7 Chivalry Mountain Villa bullied the weak. In the future, their reputation in the world of martial arts will not be very good. It's said that Fatty Dragon is a glib talker and has a sharp tongue. I've finally seen it for myself today. Xia Ho, who was standing beside Li Fan, the head steward of the villa, reprimanded them. You snatched someone else's things, yet you accuse us of bullying the weak. How interesting. Fatty Dragon, since you're like this, don't blame our villa for being heartless. Hand over the hero's token and get out of the villa. Riding on horseback, Whistling West Wind was not familiar with them to begin with, but Li Fan took them in on account of their relationship with the martial arts world. Now that these people had turned around and wanted to leave, they even made false accusations. Even the usually gentle Xia Ho was a little angry today. Elder Xia is right. Wang Xiaoran held the 7 Chivalry sword and rebuked, riding on horseback, do you think our villa has no people? What are you afraid of? At worst, we'll just start a war. The people riding on horseback shouted one after another, but Long Fengyu remained silent. Ling Yu was in a bit of a dilemma. As a high-ranking member of the riding on horseback, she also felt that they had gone overboard this time. Li Fan had helped them so much. Now that Alliance Chief Long is doing this for the hero's token, although it's for the good of the Alliance, this method is a little despicable. Everything is for the great cause. Long Fengyu seemed to have seen through her thoughts and lightly placed his hand on Ling Yu's shoulder. This sentence seems to have strengthened Ling Yu's conviction. Hand over the hero's token and go down the mountain. Li Fan said slowly to Long Fengyu, the world is very big, you can do whatever you want. Since Villa Master Li said so, I'll hand it over. Long Fengyu extended his hand, took out the black hero's token from his sleeve, and threw it over. Li Fan extended his hand and was about to catch the hero's token. But at this time, a black light suddenly flew over from the side and directly caught the hero's token and pulled it over. Everyone turned their heads at the same time and saw a woman dressed in white standing at the side. She was holding the hero's token with one hand and had a sneer on her face. Insolent maniac, hand over the hero's token. Jin Hisao was furious. He clenched his mantis fist and was about to snatch the hero's token back. Come back. Li Fan extended his hand and activated Dragon Capturing Hand. He forcefully pulled Jin Hisao back and pressed him back to his original position. Li Fan, what are you doing? Jin Hisao was very unhappy. Saving you. Li Fan said. His gaze never left the woman in white, this woman is very strong. He. I was actually seen through. The moonlight shone on the woman's face, revealing her beautiful face. This woman was beautiful and charming. Her peach blossom eyes were flowing with electric waves that seemed to be able to capture one's soul. In terms of appearance, this woman was not inferior to imperial concubine Zhou and Murong. However, her charm was something that the other two beauties did not have. She only needed a gaze to make the hearts of all the men at the scene run wild. Long Fengyu, a peerless and ambitious person, could not help but be moved when he saw this woman. This kind of woman should belong to him, Long Fangyu, and become the private and exclusive pet of the future World Alliance leader. Thinking of this, Long Fangyu could not help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. His gaze moved all the way down and looked at the woman in white from top to bottom. He was even staring at her pair of jade-like legs, unwilling to shift his gaze away. This little brother has some good eyesight. The woman in white waved the hero's token in her hand. Since you guys are fighting over it, why don't you give this to me? I will definitely take good care of it. You guys can rest assured. Misleading the masses with lies. I can't let you live. Long Fangyu flew into a rage. Even if I can't get this thing, you, a little girl, want to get it? Long Air, take it back. Yes. Behind Long Fangyu, two shadows flashed by. Li Fan is somewhat startled. As soon as these two shadows moved, he could tell that they are master-level experts. My goodness. There are actually two hidden experts beside Long Fangyu. This is truly unexpected. Even Luo Xuewu is gobsmacked. This Long Fangyu has concealed himself very deeply. The two experts are actually using Shaolin Temple's Dragon Claw technique, and they are using it to perfection. Their coordination is also superb. One on the left and one on the right, they grab the woman in white's vital parts. The surrounding spectators are somewhat unable to bear to see this beauty die miserably under the hands of the Dragon Claw. Chapter 1383. Two experts beside Long Fangyu, one on the left and one on the right, used top-notch Dragon Claw technique to grab the white-clothed beauty. One of them grabbed the top of the beauty's head, the other grabbed the beauty's chest center acupoint. Both of them actually want to kill this beauty. But at this moment, the white-clothed beauty suddenly moved. To be precise, it was her head that started moving. Her long hair scattered, two strands of hair suddenly turned into two sharp swords and directly pierced towards Long Yi and Long Air's body. Long Yi's throat was directly pierced, while Long Air luckily escaped with his life. His shoulder was still pierced by the swords and was thrown to the side. Seeing this scene, everyone's heart trembled with fear. Two evolved master experts were actually killed in a flash. This seemingly delicate white-clothed beauty's method is actually so ruthless. Ayaya, so hateful, you dirted my hair. The white-clothed beauty lightly wiped the blood from her hair. Her long black hair scattered behind her back, as if it never turned into a murder weapon. There are so many grown men here, how can you bear to bully a little girl like me? After saying that, she looked at the men present with coquettish eyes. Almost all the men present have the same thought, this woman, she is trying to make love to me. And, she needs me, I should act like a man, protect her and make her crazy for me. Momentarily, all the men present subconsciously raised their internal force, wanting to fight for this charming girl. Ha! Li Fan suddenly burst into laughter. This laughter is like a devil's voice, instantly penetrating everyone's eardrums, causing their whole body to tremble. Their infatuation with the white-clothed beauty is also released. The white-clothed beauty's gaze fell on Li Fan. She seems to be somewhat surprised. But her eyes immediately became as tender as water. In the blink of an eye, she actually appeared beside Li Fan and lightly touched his cheek with her hand. Handsome little brother, there is something special about you, I like you. Pa! Li Fan grabbed the white-clothed beauty's hand with a smile on his face. Sorry, I am a very conservative person, how about we get to know each other first? That's boring. Everyone is unfamiliar with each other. That's more exciting. It's too exciting. It's not good for the heart. It's good to try something exciting once in a while. I think it's better if you stay and let everyone get to know each other better. That won't do. I like something more exciting. As the white-robed beauty spoke, she suddenly retracted her hand and appeared behind Li Fan. At the same time, the long hair behind her turned into several sharp swords that stabbed towards Li Fan. Li Fan stretched out his hand and sucked in one of the 7 hero sword guards' treasured swords, holding it in his hand. Clang! 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 Even the hair of the beauty in white was blocked. She was actually unable to move Li Fan at all. "Little handsome, your big treasure sword is so powerful." The white-robed beauty giggled and said, "Use a bit more strength, I want to feel it more deeply." "Okay, then you have to enjoy it." Li Fan chuckled, and then the speed at which he swung his sword suddenly increased. Dragon and Phoenix Yin-Yang Sword. Alone, Li Fan unleashed the Dragon Sun Sword. This Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix Sword could make Li Fan's speed 10 times faster than before. Puff! No one saw Li Fan's move clearly, but the white-robed beauty's shoulder was already stabbed by Li Fan. The white-robed beauty immediately retreated and flew backwards. She slid more than 10 meters away and landed on the rockery at the side. "Little handsome, you stabbed me so hard." The white-robed beauty clutched her shoulder and looked at Li Fan with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. "No matter what, I'm still a girl. Isn't it not good for you to be so cruel? Don't you have tender feelings for the fairer sex? I might have to disappoint you, but I like violence." Li Fan held the sword and looked at the white-robed beauty, "But if the beauty can return the thing, I can consider being a bit more gentle." "So stingy." The white-robed beauty waved the hero's token in her hand, as the saying goes, "Take it from me, so I'll give you some leeway. If you take it back, I won't be able to hold back." "No need to hold back, let's get high." Li Fan held the sword. He wanted to see how strong this woman was. This girl's martial art is too strange, it's actually all on her hair. Her hair seems to be alive, it can be used for both offense and defense. It doesn't look like the martial arts of the Central Plains, but more like some evil arts. However, this world is too big. There are many experts with all kinds of strange skills. This woman's specific strength needs to be tested to know. That's not necessary. Today I'm here to take the thing. Once I get it, I'll leave. The white-robed beauty looked at Li Fan. "I'll be waiting for you at the Demon Island." "Demon Island?" Li Fan frowned slightly. "Goodbye, little handsome." As the white-robed beauty spoke, she waved her hand and flew backward, instantly dashing down the mountain. "Don't be in such a hurry, let's chat a bit more." Li Fan chuckled and extended his hand, activating the dragon capturing hand. A strong force of attraction immediately pulled the white-clothed beauty's body. With Li Fan's skill, he can even pull the mountain rocks over. However, the beauty waved her hand and shattered Li Fan's skill, then fled far away. Li Fan stood on the mountain and looked at the fleeing girl. He didn't chase after her. Jin Jiuma wanted to chase after her, but he stopped him. "Forget it, don't chase a cornered enemy." Li Fan said in a deep voice, "This person has the strength of at least a half-sage. None of you are a match for her." Half-sage, everyone was speechless. Are half-sages not valuable anymore? They are everywhere. Such a powerful woman, where did she come from? Xia Ho couldn't help but ask, could she be someone from the Martial Imperial Palace? No, the people from the Martial Imperial Palace all use the 5 Emperors' Throne Palace. Li Fan pondered for a while. "You will know when we reach the Demon Island." Li Fan. "I'll leave the matter of the hero's token to you." Luo Xuewu had no other choice but to seek help from Li Fan. "Yes, I will do my best." Li Fan withdrew his gaze and looked at Luo Xuewu. "However, you should also tell me. I'm afraid this hero's token can't only command the people from the Heaven Alliance, right?" Luo Xuewu hesitated for a while. "Follow me to my room, eh?" Li Fan was stunned for a moment. Follow her to her room? Fuck, today is my wedding night. If you want to know, then come. Luo Xuewu sent a voice transmission and returned to her room. Alliance Master Long, please go down the mountain. Xia Ho had already started to send the guests off. Long Fengyu didn't say anything. He was ambitious and hurriedly went down the mountain with Long Yi's corpse. After tidying up the villa, Li Fan hesitated for a while and still walked into Luo Xuewu's room. Chapter 1384. There were many houses in the villa, so Luo Xuewu naturally had her own boudoir. But her room was very simple, with only a bed, a table and a chair, and a few landscape paintings hanging on the wall. It looked no different from an ordinary person's room. However, there was a faint fragrance lingering in the room, making Li Fan feel refreshed when he smelled it. Thinking that he couldn't smell this smell in the future, Li Fan felt it was a pity. Finally willing to come in. Luo Xuewu sat at the head of the bed and seemed to look at Li Fan with some hidden bitterness. Didn't you ask me to come? Close the door. Well. Leave the door open, so that the air can circulate. You bad guy, Luo Xuewu was a little annoyed. She waved her hand, and the door was closed with a bang. Li Fan hesitated for a long time, but finally didn't have the courage to open the door again. If he really opened it, Luo Xuewu would definitely be angrier. Why don't you come and sit down? Luo Xuewu snorted, are you in a hurry to go back to see Murongying? Well. Why do you two have such a deep hatred? After all, you are cousins. Li Fan, do you know what I like most about you? Ah. Li Fan was surprised. He didn't expect Luo Xuewu to ask so straightforwardly. Probably because I'm handsome and extraordinary. Bah. Luo Xuewu spat with a smile, you're handsome and extraordinary. Don't flatter yourself. To tell you the truth, I like you because of your rebellious spirit. There are people who like rebellious people. Li Fan smiled bitterly, after all, I used to be young and impetuous. I don't think so. Luo Xuewu shook her head, it's called rebellious, but actually you did what we dare not do. It's also because of your rebelliousness that we can preserve our current Jianghu. Li Fan, I've never misjudged a person. So, I don't regret liking you. It's my honor, well. After saying so much, there's actually one thing. What? I want to give you a child. Puff. Li Fan was drinking tea, but when he heard this, he spat it out. Fuck, what's going on today? Is it written in the almanac that I'm going to give birth to a son? Why are these two girls fighting to give birth to a son for me? What kind of expression is that? Seeing Li Fan's dumbstruck expression, Luo Xuewu was slightly speechless. I'm not such a casual person. Yes, I know. Li Fan looked at Alliance Chief Luo, who was as cold as an iceberg. If he said that he wasn't moved, he wouldn't be a man. But sleeping with Alliance Master Luo just like that. Li Fan couldn't bring himself to do it. What's wrong? In the past, there was something wrong with my body, so I couldn't sleep with him. But now that you've learned the mysterious dragon ice palm, this bit of cold energy naturally can't do anything to you. Should we continue what we didn't finish today? Tell me the truth. Li Fan decided to just let it go and said, I wouldn't be a man if I didn't want to have sex with a beauty like you. Bah, you speak so crudely. After Luo Xuewu heard this, she couldn't help but spit. Should she be happy or annoyed by what he said? His words are crude, but his logic is crude. But the two of us still have to separate in the end. I don't want to ruin your life. Why are you so long-winded? Luo Xuewu rolled her eyes. In short, don't even think of going to Murongying's bed tonight. What, you still want to force a girl to be a prostitute? Li Fan, when you came in, didn't you smell the fragrance here? Li Fan suddenly felt that something was wrong. This is the Bodhi incense that I meticulously made. I guarantee that you won't be able to control yourself. Hey! Why does a sleeping incense have such a grand name? Li Fan wanted to ridicule, but he found that he couldn't say anything. His cultivation was divine, and even if it was an energy dissipation pill, he would be able to resist it. But this sleeping incense wasn't a poison, and Li Fan actually couldn't resist it. The lust in his body was fully aroused. Luo Xuewu sat on the bed, and the more he looked at her, the more beautiful she looked. If he could have sex with her once, it seemed pretty good. Li Fan just wanted to tear off all of Luo Xuewu's clothes, and then go straight to the root of the problem and pamper her. This desire was like a burning flame, burning in Li Fan's heart. Even if he was Lu Xiaohui, he couldn't sit still at this moment. Come on. Luo Xuewu's face was a little red, and she actually took the initiative to hook her finger at Li Fan. This kind of action was considered beyond the scope of Luo Xuewu. If the people of Sword Reliance saw this, their jaws would definitely drop. This was their Ice Queen, and she could actually do this to a man. But Luo Xuewu was a little proud in her heart. Little guy, Li Fan, do you want to climb onto Murong Ying's bed tonight? Make Murong Ying pregnant? No way. Your first child, Li Fan, must be my, Luo Xuewu's. Sword Reliance will have a powerful heir. Sigh. Li Fan's eyes were a little red. He walked forward, pressed down Luo Xuewu, and tore her clothes. As expected of the Ice Queen. Her skin was like snow, smooth and white, without any flaws, like the most exquisite work of God. Li Fan usually liked to do some foreplay, but under the influence of the drug, he purely displayed his animal nature and went straight to the root of the problem. Luo Xuewu's ice aura didn't have any negative effects on him. Instead, it was a great supplement. Luo Xuewu was in a bit of pain at the start, but after all, she had a body that trained in martial arts, so she quickly endured the pain. In just a moment, the pain turned into joy. Very quickly, the sound of mandarin ducks could be heard from Luo Xuewu's room. Luckily, Luo Xuewu had chased away the surrounding people. On the second day, when Li Fan woke up, he realized that Luo Xuewu had already dressed up and was dressing up in front of the mirror. A piece of the bed sheet was cut off, and it seemed to be kept by Luo Xuewu. You are awake. Li Fan saw that Luo Xuewu was tying up her hair. According to the ancient customs, her hair should be let down before she got married. After she got married, she tied up her hair. Girl, did you purposely show it to Murong Ying? Li Fan was a little speechless when he thought of the absurdity of last night. Anyway, what should have happened has happened, and I didn't say anything. What are you complaining about? As Luo Xuewu spoke, she tied up her hair. They are already looking for you. Aren't you going to pack up? Damn, I have to go to Demon Island today. Li Fan said that he had disappeared for a night, and Murong Ying would definitely blame him. But how should he explain it? Wait, I forgot why I came here. When Li Fan was putting on his clothes, he suddenly thought of something. What about the secret of the hero's token? Since I'm already yours, I can tell you now. Chapter 1385. Luo Xuewu stepped forward considerately and helped Li Fan put on his clothes. At the same time, she whispered in his ear. The hero's token can not only command the heroes of the World Alliance, but it also hides a huge secret. Luo Xuewu's words finally aroused Li Fan's interest. He had sacrificed his body, so he had to get something in return. If she knew Li Fan's shameless thoughts, Luo Xuewu would definitely go crazy. Back then, Alliance Master Lu had 2 sets of martial arts that were very powerful. The smell on Luo Xuewu's body was indeed very fragrant. Li Fan looked at her appearance. That pink and tender face had the charm of a young married woman, which added a bit of charm to it, making Li Fan want to turn back. However, he tried his best to restrain himself at the thought of the enemy. Such a stunning beauty was willing to bear children for him. It was really his blessing. In order to divert his thoughts, Li Fan answered Luo Xuewu's question. I know. One is the 9 Buddha Sutra. Lu Jinchan knows this technique because he has some relationship with Imperial concubine Zhou. Yes, the 9 Buddha Sutra has a total of 9 pages, which are scattered everywhere. However, it's not surprising that you, Murong Bo, and Li Wei of the devil cult have comprehended it. Luo Xuewu nodded. Although the 9 Buddha Sutra was powerful, it was no longer a secret with the birth of Imperial concubine Zhou. Lu Jinchan's 9 Buddha Sutra was modified based on Imperial concubine Zhou's immortal evil technique. There are a total of 9 moves and 9 styles. In addition, Lu Jinchan also knows a move called God Slaying, which he comprehended in his later years. However, people don't know that Lu Jinchan has a real unique technique that is far superior to the 9 Buddha Sutra and God Slaying. Oh. Li Fan was a little surprised. He knows other martial arts. And it's far superior to the Nine Buddha Sutra. The Nine Buddha Sutra was already a very powerful martial art. How could it be ordinary if it was created by Lu Jinchan? When the Nine Buddha Sutra was born, it only took one page to cause a terrible bloodshed in the underworld. An even more powerful cultivation technique? How attractive would that be? However, this cultivation technique has already been lost. Luo Shuawu said, even in the hero's token, there is only one general instruction. An incantation? Yes. Luo Shuawu nodded. It said that it's the main principle of the true immortal arts. Huh? Li Fan was a little surprised. True immortal arts? So the hero's token had such a secret. Alliance leader Lu is an unparalleled hero. It is said that he discovered the true immortal art's general principles and mnemonics. Then, he hid it in the hero's order, waiting for the later generations to study it. Since there is such a thing, why don't you cultivate it yourself? Li Fan could not help but ask. Although it was just a simple formula, every martial art, especially inner force, had a general principle and key points. The principle of essentials could be considered a rough cultivation method. It could be practiced on its own and could be considered an entry-level skill. Since the true immortal technique was so powerful, why hadn't he cultivated a bit of the falling snow dance for so long? After all, it is a secret. This secret has been hidden in the hero's token for hundreds of years, and no one has been able to understand it. Even I have not been able to decipher its mystery. Luo Shuawu sighed. Now that it has come to this, we can only take back the hero's token first. If it's possible, perhaps you can understand the secret of this hero's token. It can be considered a kind of opportunity. You haven't understood it for so many years. How can I be so lucky? Li Fan had already put on his clothes. I don't know if I can get back the hero's token. I will try my best. Husband. Then I will leave it to you. As Luo Shuawu spoke, she bowed to Li Fan like a wife would. Looking at Luo Shuawu's appearance, Li Fan's heart was somewhat moved. If he could find such a beautiful wife, he would not be able to ask for anything more. However, Luo Shuawu and Muronging did not get along well. It was not quite possible for them to be together with him. Moreover, this pair of cousins were very similar in their bones. They both wanted to be independent. Muronging had the Murong Villa, while Luo Shuawu had the sword leaning on the wind. Neither of them could give up their family business. I'm leaving. Li Fan did not say anything more. He turned and walked out of the room. Thank you, Li Fan. Luo Shuawu looked in the direction where Li Fan had left and sighed softly in the end. If they were fated, they would probably meet again in the future. Muronging, I have to say. Your taste is really good. At this moment, Li Fan had already met up with Muronging. Both of them were sitting on a helicopter heading to Demon Island. However, Murong-Ying's expression did not look good. Li Fan used the excuse that he had gone to chase after the beauty in white last night, so he did not come back. Li Fan said a lot of nice words. Finally, Murong-Ying's expression became better. Just who is that girl in white? Besides them, there were only soldiers armed with live ammunition on the helicopter. Murong-Ying asked directly without any scruples. I haven't asked her yet. However, I guess she is closely related to Demon Island. Could it be that there are other people living on Demon Island? Murong-Ying felt it was strange. Who knows? However, let's ask around when we get to Pole Island. Pole Island was not far from Demon Island. It was originally desolate and uninhabited. However, in order to suppress Demon Island, soldiers from many countries were stationed there. Those who did not know would think that various countries were going to war on Demon Island. At that time, you have to listen to my command. Li Fan looked at the boundless sea below. When I tell you to go, you have to listen to my command. Don't look down on me. Murong-Ying was not convinced. Who in this world can rival the two of us? I hope so. But I don't know why, but I have a bad premonition. Don't think too much. Muronging comforted Li Fan. Let's not talk about other things. Both you and I are martial saints. Could it be that the girl in white last night is stronger than you? No, but she is still a semi-sage. Li Fan voiced out his conjecture, a half-step sage expert can't just throw his life away for others. Especially that girl's martial art is very strange. Her long hair is like a sword. Even you and I can't train our hair, can we? Of course not. Can Imperial Concubine Zhou? Muronging asked. Ha, of course not. Li Fan could see through Murongying's thoughts. He could not help but laugh. Humph. Muronging snorted. She was somewhat dissatisfied that her thoughts were seen through. Her ears were slightly red. She turned her head to the window and did not look at Li Fan. However, a goddess was a goddess. Just the sight of her face was enough to make Li Fan spellbound. If he could survive, he really hoped that he could stay with Muronging forever. Just when Li Fan was letting his imagination run wild, a soldier at the side suddenly spoke. Officer Li, we have arrived. Chapter 1386. Boar Island was a small island with an area of only a few thousand square meters. In this vast ocean, this island was as small as an ant. However, it was this inconspicuous island that had gathered a lot of people from all over the world. They were all elites. Abel was the new captain of Team A and the third-generation person in charge of Project Zeus. Although the plan to destroy Dragon God No. 1 had failed, the United States did not give up. Gods of Dusk was still constantly developing the latest technology, trying to break the myth of the saint-level masters in China. This time, he led the elites from all over the world and looked at the faintly visible Devil Island in the distance. It was said that a terrible demon was sealed on that island. The plan this time was to land on that island, destroy the demon, and then find a way to get its genes. This way, the United States could still return to the position of hegemon and step on China again. The United States must have the final say on this earth. However, the premise was that they had to defeat the demon first. The general had instructed that in order to complete the mission, they could cooperate with China and borrow the strength of the Chinese masters. When he thought about cooperating with those Chinese monkeys, Abel felt a strong dissatisfaction in his heart. He was an elite of an empire, but he had to rely on a group of people from the East. It was too shameful. Abel decided to remember this shame and take revenge in the future. Why haven't those Chinese arrived yet? Looking at the time, Abel, who was enjoying the sea breeze, said in annoyance. They should be here soon. Beside Abel stood a blonde beauty. Her name was Elizabeth, a member of Project Zeus, and she obeyed Abel's command. The beauty of this blonde beauty attracted the attention of many men on the island. However, the blonde beauty ignored them and only stared at one person, and that was her commander, Abel. In the training school of Team A, Abel was the most outstanding one. He had also completed many field missions with flying colors. Such a powerful man was worthy of her ideal partner. As for the other men, they were weak, pompous, and did not deserve to stand by her side. These Easterners are so arrogant. Commander, I think we shouldn't wait for them. Elizabeth suggested. God is my witness, who wants to wait for them? Abel scolded fiercely, these monkeys don't know the concept of time. They don't know the rules. Do you want me to inform everyone that we are starting to land on the island now? I want to too, but we're a team. Abel waved his hand. Those Easterners really don't know the rules, but as the commander of the team, I have to know how to be patient. Give them a little more time. If we don't see them before 2:00 in the afternoon, we'll immediately land on the island. You are truly magnanimous. Elizabeth admired Abel even more. She felt that his image was incomparably glorious and great. If the two of them knew that Li Fan was late because he was accompanying a girl, they would probably vomit blood. Half an hour later, a helicopter finally arrived and landed on Pole Island. Li Fan and Muronging got off the helicopter. The staff of the joint parliament immediately went up to receive them. However, the staff's attitude was neither warm nor cold. Li Fan recalled that he had offended the joint council in the past, so he didn't say much. In any case, when he arrived on the island, he could only rely on his own fate. He did not expect the experts from other countries to help him. Boss. At this moment, a familiar voice came from the side. Li Fan turned his head to look. It was none other than the current head of the Parker family, William Parker. When he was in America, he had once helped him win the position of the head of the family. Naturally, he had a deep impression of him. "Ha, why are you here, kid?" When Li Fan saw him, a trace of a smile hung on his face and walked over. This time, the Parker family also has to contribute to the crusade against the Devil Island. When William saw Li Fan, he was a little excited and a little respectful. "I thought that boss would probably come, so I took the family's spot and came personally. Recently, my skills have improved." Li Fan looked at William's increasingly powerful breath and praised him. "You have the demeanor of a big family head." "Hey, with my little ability, it's not worth mentioning in front of boss." William maintained his modesty. "I hope boss can give me more pointers." The people around saw that the head of the Parker family was actually so respectful to an Easterner. It was simply unbelievable. "Commander. Why is that William Parker so friendly with the Chinese?" Elizabeth was also a little puzzled. "Maybe they have business dealings." Abel was very calm. "The Chinese are all nouveau riche. The Parker family likes to deal with the rich the most." "That's true. You're really quick-witted." Although Elizabeth was also an expert, when she looked at Abel, she was like a crazy little fangirl. It made many people who liked her a little dazed. However, when Muronging came out, the eyes of many men here were attracted by this oriental beauty. Even if the Westerners' aesthetic was somewhat different from the Easterners, a beauty like Muronging still conquered them. Although Elizabeth didn't care about these men, she still felt a little uncomfortable being outshone by an Oriental woman. How could an Oriental woman surpass her in terms of charm? Thinking of this, Elizabeth slightly lifted the hem of her skirt, letting her skirt, which was originally pressed on her knees, rise to the position of her thighs. A pair of straight long legs immediately attracted the attention of many people. She was a little proud. With a provocative look, she glanced in the direction of Muronging. However, Muronging didn't even look at her. This woman was wearing a red cheongsam, holding a treasured sword. She was looking in the direction of Devil's Island, as if she was looking for something. Humph. Deliberately mystifying. "Boss, when we get to the island, you have to protect me." While William and Li Fan were chatting, William suddenly said. "You're a duke, aren't you? Why do you need me to protect you?" Li Fan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Boss. As a dark creature, I can feel that there is a terrifying existence on that island." William also smiled bitterly. "Originally, I was excited to see you. But now, I really regret it." "Oh. The existence on the island is so terrifying?" "Yes," William nodded, and then thought of something. "Forget it. Since I'm here, I can more or less feel at ease with you around. By the way, boss,